Who are these people?
Tell you something, brother!
Who are these people?
Notice me, senpai. Notice me.
Don't be rude.
Who are these people?
Who are these people? I'm good. You're coming in a little like muffled. Oh, now you're good. Now you're good. I don't know what you're doing, but now you're good.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm good. I have a lot to say tonight, especially about the Dave Meltzer Dutch Mantel stuff. So I'm ready when you are. Take it away.
I'm good.
Oop, other way.
No,
Yes,
just-
how are you tonight, Angel? I mean, we got a show. You had a show last night. I have a show tonight with you, and then tomorrow we have a show, which I forgot. I need to talk to Matt Collins. I think we're gonna have him on too.
So wait a minute. The show I'm supposed to be on is tomorrow.
Yeah. It's
Oh.
we're doing the bonus. It's the Superposed Down. We're gonna do a bonus content for all my Rick Rude fans out there.
Okay, no, I can make it. I just forgot it was tomorrow.
That's okay. I'll keep reminding you.
Okay.
4:30.
So-
Be there.
Yeah. So other than that, I mean, my back is in horrible shape, but I'll get through the show. Don't worry about it.
Aw.
That's why I'm trying to adjust, trying to figure out, what's the best way to sit in this chair. But anyways, I just woke up and it's one of the springs on the mattress kind of dug right into my back, and I didn't realize it. So,
ouch, that hurts.
yeah, I spent the entire day with back pain, basically sitting in awkward angles in chairs and stuff, and still had to do laundry. Still had to, make food and stuff. So, not sitting around doing nothing. I mean, I don't really like doing that anyways. But
How about ice packs?
yeah, I mean, not really. I mean, I didn't think of that, but I took I put Bengay on my back. It worked a little bit, but it's still pretty bad shape. Get through it, and hopefully I'll maybe do an ice pack after we're done here. But yeah, other than that, I'm fine. Everything. I did a show Thursday with Snow. Friday was my show. Today is this show. Tomorrow I have to be on with you. So yeah, I've been pretty busy, doing content, but we're good. So
And
Yeah,
I'm going to
what
be
do
on next week with Snow. I promised him I would.
you?
I'm going to pencil him in.
Yeah, we were expecting you on Thursday, but it was like, nope, maybe
Yeah,
not.
no, I actually had something already planned, and all I meant was I would be in chat. Yeah, I'll be there in chat. Is what
Uh
I
huh. Uh huh. Yeah, I mean, it's fine. So
meant.
yeah, I mean, there's a lot to talk about, and the first thing I want to mention real quick before we get to the other parts of the show is, as everybody knows, last night, if you're into boxing, Mike Tyson fought Jake Paul on Netflix, and the reason why I watched it is because A, I wanted to see how Netflix does because Raw is moving to Netflix in January, so I wanted to see how well their streaming services, and because they don't do live usually, it just their stuff is
Right.
pre-recorded and uploaded.
And
So these are one of the few times they started testing going live, and it was an if you see, I'm sure if you're on X, you've seen it. It was an awful broadcast from. I mean, it was from the issues with the actually getting onto the fight and the buffering. It felt like it felt like I was like we had like low speed internet. It's like really it's
Mhm.
buffering. And then on top of that, it's the buffering. It would kick us off randomly. I had to go back in. Then it would take forever to get back in. Everyone complained about Netflix last night. It was like, what the fuck are they doing? And they had 6 months. This fight supposed to take place in March, and it was canceled and moved 6 months later. And they still can get their shit together. They couldn't get their servers together. They couldn't, because you had to expect more traffic than usual because
Mhm.
everyone wants to see Mike Tyson. But
Right.
of course, they didn't get their shit together, and now we had an awful broadcast. And
Who do you know who won? Who won?
Jake Paul beat Mike Tyson convincingly. I mean, basically, it was Mike Tyson's still powerful, but he couldn't move. I mean, he barely could.
Mm.
So I understand he's 58 years old, so he couldn't really move. So Jake Paul basically stayed away and tapped him with punches, and that's all he needed to do to win. So it wasn't really much of a fight, but I was hoping, it would be a better fight. But and that's basically what I expected. I was just hoping Mike Tyson maybe got lucky and give Jake Paul that one punch and be knocked out.
And out forever. Yeah, I'm surprised he didn't bite off his ear.
That didn't
No.
happen. Yeah, it didn't happen.
um, I tease Mike Tyson, but no offense, but you're no. What was that guy's name in '88? Oh gosh, no, I can't remember. Oh my gosh, I'm drawing a complete blank. Somebody help me. One of our people in '88, he faced Lorenzo something or
George Foreman?
no Lana. Um, yeah,
Yeah.
I can't think of his name. He was a black gentleman,
Oh.
but he was a very good boxer and had retired 3 times and then came back.
Mhm.
And he's that person. The person I'm not thinking. It's not Muhammad Ali. Darn it!
Yeah.
Why am I drawing? I'm drawing a complete blank.
Yeah, it was not it the other fights were fine, but again, the issue was Netflix. I mean, you kept getting kicked off, or we had buffering issues, and on top of that, the
Yeah.
broadcast itself was terrible. I mean, the broadcast commentary team was awful, and and there was a funny moment which went viral where they're interviewing Mike Tyson backstage, and I'm like, okay, whatever, interview. Next, they didn't cut away. And the next thing, the camera, for some reason, they decided to shoot Mike Tyson's bare ass.
Ew.
Yeah, you've seen this. I assume you've seen this. I mean, everybody's just sharing it. They
No,
shot Mike Tyson.
I didn't see it.
Well, they shot Mike Tyson's bare ass for some reason before, because he had like a thong deal on where before he put on his shorts for his boxing shorts. So for some reason, they decided to film him with his bare ass out when he walked away.
Come on.
And I'm like, really, Netflix? I mean, you couldn't like. And what's worse is the interview. I think the interview was either pre-recorded or something, because
Mm-hmm.
by that point he had to have his shorts on. So they couldn't cut it out. Like they go in editing is like, yeah, cut this part out and air the rest of it. Nope, they just shot his bare ass and then aired it like that. And now his ass now went viral, so oh no. So not only did he lose the fight, but now his bare ass is out there for everybody to see. So great. But other than that, it was an awful broadcast, and Netflix had issues. That's why I even put on Twitter X last night that
Sugar Ray Leonard. Oh my God, that would have bugged the crap out of me. Yeah, sorry, Mike Tyson, you're no Sugar Ray Leonard. Whew, that would bother the crap out of me for the rest of the night. I'm sorry for interrupting.
So I'm worried about WWE moving to Netflix next year because if they couldn't get this shit right and they had 6 months to do it.
Yeah.
So
if it falls through, I mean, that's a lot of money for WWE to lose.
Yeah, I mean Netflix, they have to get their shit together. They have 2 months, at least. Though they only all they have to do is air it now. Raw WWE handles everything else, but all they got to do is air it properly. So we'll see what they do, but they need to get that because everybody's been watching Raw, and on top of that, they have a Netflix has an NFL game they're airing. I think next month. No, for Thanksgiving I think it is.
Oh,
Airing
no.
a football game for Thanksgiving or Christmas. No, Christmas. That's what it was. Yeah. They were promoting it during the fights. It's like, oh, now you have an NFL game on Christmas. Oh, great. At least they get
usually do. Thanksgiving, it's always Detroit and Dallas.
Yeah. So they get one more chance to try to, right the ship because I'm sure WWE is not going to take kindly to their shit not airing properly, especially when it's WrestleMania season because January pretty much leads into WrestleMania. So
right. Yeah, I mean it's going to be really interesting to see what happens. I hope Netflix gets their stuff together. I'm sorry that it didn't work this time, but maybe they'll work out the kinks. And yeah, Netflix is not usually a live thing. That's why I was kind of like, well, maybe they're just going to put their episodes of Raw on Netflix. They're actually going to do live stuff.
No, they're intending to air a live episode of Raw every week on Netflix, like they're doing now in USA. So that was the deal. That it's not like they're going to pre-record Raw and just upload it. I mean, if it was that, then it'd be a little bit easier. But the issue is the issue of spoilers. Then after that,
yeah.
Like what's happening now, we'll get to it in a moment. But Raw, what WWE's been doing to save money is they're airing one episode live, and then immediately after Raw is done, they're filming the next week episode in the same arena.
Get out.
Yeah, so they're filming 4 hours of television with the same crowd every now. Now they just did it again, and they're probably that's probably a more permanent thing now. It seems like. Like they're trying to save money. It seems like even though WWE has record profits right now, but TKO has to save a few bucks, so they just got to record, in the same arena, I guess.
So you're gonna see this week, guys, and next week, you live audience, woohoo!
And then they post everything online and spoiler alerts, So I mean, so you pretty much know what's gonna happen even next week on Raw. So as of now, I mean, they're setting up the Survivor Series War Game matches, and the women's one is just god awful. I mean, it's like basically, oh, we have to have a women's War Game match, so let's just throw 10
Why? It's all shit.
Let's just throw 10 girls together and have a War Games match, which basically what War Games is now. It's a hardcore match inside a cage with 10 people. It's a hardcore match inside a cage, and it's
Why
like
can't it just be 8 like it used to be? Well, of course, it's not WCW anymore, but War Games was like what 8 or 10 guys. It was was it 4 people in the NWO? I'm remembering Fall Brawl 97, where it was the 4 Horsemen and the NWO was 4 of them. So 4 is 8. Because they ultimately pretend to hurt Kurt Hennig, and it was only like 7 of them. But then Kurt would come out and, of course, turn to the NWO.
Yeah, initially it was. Now
it was like 8. It was 8 guys.
That's why I thought they would do 4-on-4 for the men's War Games, but
they're
not. They're doing 5-on-5, Apparently, Rhea Ripley does come back on next week's Raw, so that's a spoiler there if you guys didn't want to know. But
Aw, you're supposed to keep it a secret.
no, the reason why I'm saying it because it sets up the 5-on-5. So the girls are,
Oh,
it's Rhea Ripley with the baby faces with a Undertaker style face mask from the '90s. If you remember his face mask when Nabel broke his face orbital, but.
interesting.
So, because if you don't know what happened, you guys, on NXT 2 weeks ago, Raquel and Liv Morgan beat up Rhea Ripley with lead pipes, so she broke her orbital and storyline. So she went away for a few weeks, and now she's back with like an Undertaker style face mask. When Mabel did break his orbital for real. So,
Oh my.
yeah, so it's a 5-on-5, and then what annoys me is the men's War Games match because it's supposed to be OG Bloodline, original Bloodline versus the new Bloodline.
Right.
It's 4-on-4 with the family all together. Instead, we find out on SmackDown, I think this last night, with Bronson Reed accepted to go on Team New Bloodline. I'm like, Bronson Reed's not part of the family. What the hell's going
Right.
on? What are you doing?
Well, and I think that's it's just going to be and there could be, talks maybe of him joining the Bloodline, but he'd have to go to SmackDown. The other thing, and that's why I said to you on X, I was like, I want your thoughts on this. I'm really pushing towards Braun Breaker. I just don't think Seth Rollins has what it takes. Yeah, he beat Bronson Reed, and they still have somewhat of an ongoing feud. But Seth said he wanted no part of the Bloodline, not even the new Bloodline. He wanted no part of that. So I honestly think it's going to be Braun Breaker.
Well, I mean, if you look towards the spoilers of Raw, which is why I'm kind of annoyed, because it makes no sense. But if you look at the spoilers of Raw, it turns out that Seth Rollins does agree to join the original Bloodline after all.
Oh, I was so hoping it was going to be Braun
Me
Breaker.
too, but I saw the spoilers. I'm like, Seth Rollins made clear he wanted nothing to do with this, and it made sense because him and Roman have heat from back in the Shield days, and that still hasn't really been resolved. So now all of a sudden he's fine with joining Team Bloodline and teaming Roman Reigns.
Yeah, I know.
Like, it doesn't make any sense.
And that's why I said, Bronson Reed really had nothing to do with either or.
No.
So it was a kind of a shocker that he came out on SmackDown and joined the OG or the new Bloodline.
Yeah.
And then, excuse me. And then of course you had the iconic scene that I kind of mentioned to you. I seen it on X, but then I was watching SmackDown highlights this morning, and the phone is disconnected. He tries to call the wise man and Paulie, and the line's disconnected. So he just kind of drops, and he's just, that got me.
Yeah, so now this drama is like,
what a good bit of acting there. Roman Reigns.
It's like either, because I saw that, and I'm like, oh, well.
Yeah, I would have my heart out. I was like, oh no, not Paulie. Not Paulie abandoning him.
The last time we saw him, he's going, the new Bloodline was putting him through a table, and he's disappeared. I mean, he hasn't been seen since pretty much WrestleMania season. So he's been out the entire year selling the table thing, which is good because he should not be back next week after going to a table. But yeah, the question is, he's going to be back probably at Survivor Series. Question is whether he's going to
go with the new Bloodline or the old one.
Yeah. And we also forgetting about The Rock. He returned in that October pay-per-view for last month. He hasn't been seen since, by the way. He's just gone again.
No offense, but he's kind of forgettable at this point because The Rock is a little bit irrelevant. I mean, I understand that he needs to come back. He's probably going to join the new Bloodline.
Yeah, he just came back in October at that Bad Blood.
Those are the heels, and Rock is going to be a heel.
And I thought he'd be around
a babyface.
No, he's not a babyface at this point. But yeah, I mean, he came back at Bad Blood. He stood there a little bit, disappeared, hasn't been seen since. So I don't know what was the point of that. Maybe he happened to be in Atlanta at the same time WWE was. So I was like, okay, let's just have him show up, and no plan for him. Just he's fucked off again. Oh, by the way, I released a new movie called Red
Santa. Yeah, I know. I saw. I said, oh god, you got to do an irrelevant kid show. A kids movie.
It's supposed to be a new take on the Santa Claus North Pole story, but I mean, what I've seen, it looks inauthentic. It looks kind of like a lame Dwayne Johnson movie. That's what he's been doing lately. These lame ass like reinterpretations of old stories, which are bad and inauthentic.
And trust me, guys, when I say I have no intention of seeing this movie. It looks stupid, and I'm like, I'm not a 5-year-old child.
Hey, WBC.
Hey, CBC.
I just butchered him. Sorry, but
and Hassan or Hassan. Sorry.
Yeah, thank you for joining us. If you haven't, give us a like, and subscribe. But yeah, I mean, I'm not. The only reason why, only way this could make sense is they don't have enough Anawahi or Fatu family members to do 5-on-5.
That's why I was kind of like, why Bronson Reed?
Yeah, they don't have enough members of the family because it could have been. Sami Zayn makes sense because he's part of the original bloodline, so he's a big part of that story. So, which is why I'm fine with him being there. But Seth Rollins and Bronson Reed, like, what? So what? If Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns gonna fight, they're gonna. I know what they're gonna. They're gonna milk it. They hate each other. They're gonna stare each other down, and then the heels will come and beat them up during the War Games match. And it's like I already see it coming. It's like, oh. I mean, I like milking stuff, and I like maybe teasing stuff from down the line, but I think they do it too much in WWE now.
Yeah, they do a little too much in WWE. I mean, and again, I don't watch AEW, so I can't make the comparison. Though I do see the crap from time to time on X. I just enough of the milking, guys. I know that's your favorite thing to do. You like to milk it for everything it's worth, but time to go home from the dance. It's time to go home.
So. They don't have enough Anawahi or Fatu family members or the Tongans because they have at least 2 or 3 more under contract, but one of them, I think either hurt or they're too young to actually, they don't trust them on pay-per-view, which I understand. I mean, if they're young or hurt, you can't use them.
Then why not just have 4, like 4-on-4?
4-on-4. I mean, it's like they're pigeonholing Seth Rollins and Bronson Reed in there because they happen to be feuding at this moment. So take him in a War Games match and continue that feud. But they could have had a 1-on-1 match, or something. They had a 1-on-1.
I would have loved to have seen Braun Breaker in there. I'm like, oh damn, that would be so exciting. And I could see Roman go, I don't really know you or who you are, but want to come on? I can't do the Roman thing. He's so mysterious, and yet, excuse me, he exhibits that coolness.
Yeah,
it just seems to like come off of him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's like this. Tribal chief character is really him, and it should have been him from the beginning. But instead, I've gone through this before. I mean, Vince has turned him into John Cena 2.0, and it just didn't work. And if he would have discovered this 5 years before, Roman would have a lot longer run. But whatever.
Tonga. Well, hi. Didn't know you watched. I don't think it's him.
I mean.
But thank you for joining us.
And thank you for joining us after all. I mean, greatly appreciated. But yeah, I mean, it's too much. It's just. And I just wish for 4-on-4. It would have made a lot more sense. They pigeonholed Seth Rollins and the other guy, Bronson Reed, as 5-on-5. It's going to be another hardcore match inside a cage, which is basically what War Games have devolved into now. These aren't really good matches. These are more like, let's use fire extinguishers, tables, ladders, chairs.
Oh my!
Yeah, I mean, if you've seen these matches, they're just hardcore matches in a cage. Not really War Games. You can't even really call it War Games anymore.
No, because in WCW they only had what they could do in the wrestling ring. They didn't have chairs and tables and whatever.
The only weapon they can use is the cage, which which was the point of the match. So you don't.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, let's throw in furniture, let's throw in fire extinguishers, and let's throw in kendo
Please
sticks.
no thumbtacks. Please no thumbtacks.
They might have.
Please no thumbtacks. I mean, that's what we thought was going to happen during the Drew McIntyre and CM Punk match. I'm like, please no thumbtacks, please. And I saw these beads. I'm like, Oh, thank the goddess.
It's reference to the CM Punk friendship, the friendship beads. Oh, Punk
All
is
I can
due
think
to
is, oh no, thumbtacks, not thumbtacks again.
no, but that match was an ideal balance to me of weapons, but it was so personal that it makes sense they try to kill each other with weapons. It's not
Right.
like a random hardcore no disqualification match. Just do it, guys. You never worked together, but do it. Kill each other for no reason. But
Well,
it's not even that.
and I just want to say something really quick. I keep seeing this one account say, "Where is Drew McIntyre?" Guys, remember Drew McIntyre had real stitches in his head because he was knocked senseless with that toolbox. You guys, WWE is going to milk this for everything it's worth. So Drew McIntyre will be back. He'll probably be gone for maybe 6 months to a year, but he will be back.
Yeah. He suffered a lot of people died in his family and been in the hospital. So he's worked through all that. So that he's had time off scheduled anyways. I mean, he was going to take off after the Hell in a Cell match anyways. So the stitches in the head was, I mean, that was brutal. And that was hard. That was hard way by Punk. It's like that was not
Well,
a
he
great
said
job.
afterwards, he's like, "How the hell you think I feel?" Like shit. But no, I didn't know. I'm very sorry to hear that. And please, I send my deepest sympathies to Drew McIntyre. I did not know there were deaths in your family. I'm very sorry.
So and he worked through that because of the Punk feud was so hot. So it's like, okay, finish this feud and then you can take as much time as you need. I expect him to be back by the Royal Rumble probably for WrestleMania season. He'll be doing something in WrestleMania. But
It would be good to see him back. He is one of the newest wrestlers that I actually like him, and I didn't mind Punk. I just couldn't get into CM Punk. But I'm really, really into Braun Breaker. Even though Seth Rollins kind of is annoying at times, I still like his flamboyancy of him dressing like his wife. And then of course you have I adore Cody Rhodes. Come on. The whole thing on SmackDown with him, like, I want Kevin Owens, right?
Yeah.
For what happened with Randy Orton. Now they're going to milk this, of course. And I like how the Nick Aldis came out and said, Randy has this and he has that. And Cody's like, well, you didn't have to call his wife. You didn't have to call his family and tell them what Randy had done to him. Blah, blah, blah. So here we go. We're sowing the seeds of, he hurt Randy Orton with a pile driver. And, and Nick Aldis said, that there's a reason why that move is outlawed. I went, it was usually up to the referee's discretion. I didn't know they outlawed it again, but it was outlawed in the 80s. I know that.
The WWE outlawed it. Vince outlawed it in the early 2000s. And part of it is because of Austin's Owen Hart broke Austin's neck.
Right.
So
I remember that.
So and it was Owen Hart. It wasn't like some jabroni, never really wrestled doing that move. It was Owen Hart. It was a Hart guy. So Austin trusted him and he fucked it up. And Austin's career was cut short because he probably could have gone another 4 or 5 years after what he did if he didn't break his neck. So unfortunately, I mean, you would have seen Steve Austin against John Cena, it's like, but then it didn't happen because Austin had that broken neck. So you could have seen Steve Austin against Bryan Danielson. You could have seen Steve Austin versus Seth Rollins or CM Punk. That would have been a dream match. Never happened.
Seth Rollins and his flamboyancy. I'm sorry. I got to bring that up. I'm like, damn. I think it was CM Punk says, you like dressing like your wife? I'm like,
yeah. That's a match that WWE has to get to because that was initially what was teased. And then the next thing you know, it turns out that nope. I mean, Drew McIntyre thing got hot by accident, so it was like, okay, let's just go with this. And it was a great feud. It was a great year-long feud, and CM Punk is most likely going to oppose Gunther next because Damian Priest is probably going to get beat again. I suspect Punk will come out at the end of again after that Gunther match and basically be the next challenger.
I was going to say, I think they're also milking that whole, well, of course, the Drew McIntyre thing. We already knew they were going to milk that. But not only that, but also they're milking the CM Punk thing. I thought he was just going to return and like nothing ever happened. But of course, they're milking that too.
No.
But then CM Punk, I think, is doing stuff outside. But the whole thing, and I've seen this on X, and tell me if you saw this on X too. Because I was watching SmackDown and I couldn't help but laugh when Cody Rhodes is like, the guy drives a Lamborghini. Well, on X, I had seen pictures of, well, it was actually a video of Randy Orton looking in his Lamborghini going, like that, you know? And then, of course, you saw the pictures with, or I think it was a video. No, it was pictures. It was pictures of Cody Rhodes looking at the Lamborghini and taking pictures in front of it. And the caption was, gee, I wonder if wrestling's fake. Well, of course it's fake. Like, oopsie, they should have leaked these photos, you know?
Cody Rhodes challenged Kevin Owens or told Nick Aldis, look, I want Kevin Owens, so let him come to the arena next week. I sent you that. I tagged you in Kevin Owens' response on X, and
I did see it. Yep. And well, you tell me your thoughts, and then I'll come.
I thought it was like they're really like he's really pushing the whole I'm psychotic thing. Like, yeah, I'll be there next week, but I'm gonna do my job. You know, I'm gonna do my job, Cody. So you're gonna
get what you deserve
after what you betrayed me. You know, so yes, I thought it was fantastic. Again, it's like, I mean, he's doing a good job with this new heel character that Kevin Owens is doing now. So that's my thoughts. I mean,
yeah, and the fact that he was probably doing it from the Lamborghini that he had been seen taking pictures with earlier. I think, and this, I think Jim Cornette said we're not really sure what's going on here. I don't think Jim liked this, but I did. I loved it so much. Yeah, just like you said, he's starting to come out of the shell. Now we're starting to see the psychotic person that we need to see so that Kevin Owens can be a true heel. This is exactly what they needed to do at this time. And there needs to be sweet revenge, of course, for Cody. Cody needs to get his win. Not that he didn't win the first time, but I think I don't think they're going to make Kevin Owens the champ.
No, and the reason again, I mean, they're completely behind Cody, the company. Every month, nearly every month since he became champion, he's the #1 merch seller, and and he's been a constant professional. It's like that belt's not coming off Cody anytime soon. I don't think The Rock can get that belt off Cody right now. No matter how much The Rock asks for that belt, he's not gonna get it. Probably.
Not even that final boss thing that they're trying to push on the fans. I'm like, oh, what the heck with the final boss. I'm tired of the time. I'm tired of you, Rocky. Leave and don't come back. Go ahead.
So I wanted to, that's Raw. That was what's going on. Next week we're previewing Survivor Series War Games next week because the 30th is the pay-per-view. It's like right after Thanksgiving.
So are we gonna do Sunday then? At like 7?
No, this Saturday is Saturday. I mean, we're previewing Survivor Series War Games, but next Saturday, next week, the week after will probably be Sunday. Would have to be
7
because
o'clock.
we're watching we're watching the pay-per-view. So yeah,
and you and I will be DMing back and forth. Trust me on that, guys. I can tell you that every pay-per-view so far that we've been watching, and especially with WWE. Because I don't watch AEW. No offense, Angel, but I'd rather not watch that at $50 a pop when it's
I won't pay for it either. I haven't really watched.
I can guarantee that you and I will be conversing back and forth, like, "Oh my god, I can't believe he did that."
So the card is still kind of being fleshed out. I'm assuming it'll be Cody versus Kevin Owens for the title. It'll be Gunther versus Damian Priest for the other belt. You have the 2 War Games matches. That's 4 right there. And I don't think that maybe they'll squeeze in one more match because WWE now does only 5 or 6 matches now. So there's already 4 there. So
maybe something with like LA Knight, who is really irrelevant anyway.
Oh, well, I'm glad you brought up LA Knight because Shinsuke Nakamura came back and beat him up. So I guess he's the next opponent for the U.S. title. So.
Right.
And he had like face paint on, so I guess he has kind of different gimmick now. Because before that, they were kind of using him as a job guy, so he couldn't beat anybody. So he went away for a while. So now I guess he's back as a badass or something. So
I say LA Knight retains. What do you say?
Here's the thing: LA Knight's getting kind of lame, or not lame. He's getting kind of old. Like
Okay.
he needs something. He needs like a spark, because I don't know. He's not doing it for me as U.S. champion. It's like I mean, he's kind of getting exposed because he's getting exposed, because I could tell he's not the best worker, but now as
Mm-hmm.
champion, it's like, ugh, it's kind of like, he's not, and he's just a personality, and he's over as a
Mm-hmm.
personality, but his work in the ring leaves much to be desired. I get he needs to probably like drop that belt and get back in the chase again for the belt, because he was over and was chasing that belt, but as soon as he's getting it, I don't know, he's getting a reaction, but it's not really the same as like that belt's killing him off. Like he needs to drop that belt and then get back to chasing.
That's the one that Jim Cornette calls him Shaking Nakamura, right?
Yeah, Shaky Nakamura.
Okay. Yeah. I just don't see him taking the belt because, again, his age. Now, I mean, again, he's no spring chicken, but then, I mean, he ever been, that kind of mid card quality ish?
Well, Nakamura, man, he's
Mm-hmm.
always been that upper mid card. I mean, even slot him in at main events sometimes, pending who if he needed there. But
Mm-hmm.
but lately he's been used as a jobber. So
Yeah.
now that he's back and kind of under face paint, it's. I'm guessing now they're going to try to use him more seriously.
Kind of like what the Great Muda, when they would do that to the Great
Yeah,
Muda.
yeah, they're going to use him more seriously, I guess, and be a threat. And because so, yeah, so that's if that ends up in the pay per view. I mean, I don't know what they're going to do. I would take the belt off LA Knight and try to have him chase it again, and have Shinsuke Nakamura, carry it for a couple months, maybe a little longer. Then have LA Knight the Royal Rumble. I mean, I'm not saying you should push him towards the world title. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
WrestleMania season is too jammed up right now. The Rock and Roman Reigns and Cody and Seth
The
Rollins,
Bloodline, right? Yeah.
Bloodline. The main event at WrestleMania, the title pictures are just too crowded right now, and
Have
most
they
likely
floated anything? I'm sorry to interrupt. Did they
no,
float anything with Braun Breaker yet? They left him off a crown jewel. He didn't even go, I don't think.
no. He beat Jay for the Intercontinental and Raw, and then he's kind of been middling again. Like he's been cutting promos backstage, but
Mm-hmm.
next week he has a match with Sheamus for the Intercontinental title. So,
Oh
but
my
then
God.
at least they're putting him in a match, but it's against Sheamus. So,
We'll put him in a pay-per-view. He deserves it. He's the Intercontinental Champion.
yeah, it seems like he's middling again, even though he won the belt back. But it seems
I
like
mean,
they
his
kind of
dad never achieved this, but I think his dad was always, he wasn't really good in singles. He was better with Scott.
yeah. So I don't know what they're planning to do with him. Hopefully at Raw, and hopefully next year, leading up to WrestleMania, he does something big, because Cena's coming back too. In fact, his first
Mm-hmm.
appearance next year at the Royal Rumble. So it'd be
Mm-hmm.
interesting to see what they do to him. There's discussion about him maybe wrestling for one of the world titles. Either be Gunther against Cena or Cody against Cena. Most likely be Gunther, because that anti-American versus Cena, who's the constant American. It's just to me, is a perfect fit.
Yeah, I mean, they wouldn't have, babyface versus babyface, and we saw
And
how
Cody,
that worked with Kevin Owens at the time.
yeah,
That was
and
kind of,
Cody's most likely be busy with Rock and Roman, so they'll
yeah,
probably do either a triple threat, or it'll be Roman Cody or Rock Cody. So
yeah,
he's gonna be
definitely.
busy with the Bloodline, so that's not gonna work. So it has to be, or he can face Braun Breaker for Intercontinental, a belt he's never won.
Right.
So that's what I'm thinking they might do with him too. So yeah, I mean that's speculation. I'm sure Triple H has the WrestleMania card kind of set up right now, because usually he does by November, December, so he knows what the card's going to be like.
And
But
and I think I mean, to leave the Intercontinental Champion off of two pay-per-views is just kind of that. Then why is he Intercontinental Champion? Doesn't he mean anything? Doesn't the Intercontinental Championship mean anything anymore?
I don't. I mean, as of now, hold on.
I
As
mean, you
with
have the great Rick Rude, you have Kurt Hennig, you have Ricky Steamboat, you have even the greatest of champions. I mean, they were something, and they defended their titles. It seemed like every pay per view.
uh,
even if they lost it to the Texas Tornado.
Yeah, so there's only there's only
That
two
was a
matches.
fluke.
Yeah, the only 2 matches listed.
Bret
And
Hart.
so it's the original the Bloodline War Games match and Gunther and Damian Priest. So the female War Games match has not been officially set up. So it's already been leaked for next week's Raw when it gets set up. But
My question is, where did they put Tiffy?
Tiffy's going to be in the War Games match.
Yeah, I mean, is she a babyface or a heel? Because Nia Jax is a heel, right?
I guess, yeah, she'll be in the heel team because technically she's still hanging around Nia Jax, even though she's been teasing cash-in for now weeks.
Yeah.
Which doesn't
Against Nia, but she's like, oh, I swear I was going to do it to live. I swear. Yeah. Okay.
So I'm sure we'll get more of that teasing during War Games. I mean, it's like, oh no, I was going to cash in on Liv, I swear, and
Yeah, I swear. And then Raquel comes up, you ain't gonna do it to my girl. I'm like, okay.
So yeah, so that's we'll discuss that more when the card is more complete next week because they've not really set up any matches yet. But
I would like to see Rhea Ripley come back.
She will.
According to the spoiler, she will, and I hope she beats the shit out of Liv Morgan. I mean, that woman needs a comeuppance. If any time it was be now, she needs.
So the next, so I wanted to bring up the AEW and Bobby Lashley and his new group over there real quick. Because Bobby Lashley, MVP, and Shelton Benjamin all signed with AEW. So now they're the Hurt Syndicate over there. And immediately they stuck him in a feud with Swerve Strickland. And I'm like, of course. It's like...
Well, yeah, they're doing shitty stuff with Bobby Lashley. I mean, he, according to Jim Cornette, it's like he's a jobber again.
Yeah.
Like they just don't know what to do with Bobby Lashley. And Bobby Lashley was headlining WWE. This is one of those guys that was,
he headlined WrestleMania.
Yeah. And they're just doing nothing with him. They're treating him like a jobber. Yeah,
so Vince had him on top. Triple H didn't do much with him, so he kind of like, I think I'm going to bounce to AEW and take Tony Khan's money.
Yeah.
So
that's what's the best thing that's going for you right now.
Yeah, so he's like 3 times the size of most of those guys, 95% of the guys on that roster.
Yeah, he's like
Tony is like
200-300 pounds, and those guys are like 195 soaking wet.
Yeah, so he's in a feud with Swerve Strickland, and I'm like, okay, so then because they're mad because Swerve didn't join the Hurt Syndicate, so now all of a sudden Swerve's a babyface again. I was kind of he was a heel last time I watched AEW. It was during the summer when Bryan Danielson beat Swerve for the world title, so he was a heel then. Now he's a babyface again, and now they're swerving with the Hurt Syndicate, which is a heel group. Which, by the way, it's a ripoff of the Hurt Business in WWE, which was a ripoff of the Beatdown Clan in TNA when Bobby Lashley was over there. So it's like Bobby Lashley, MVP, they're repeating the same success they've had in every company they've been in.
Interesting.
In fact, I used to call the Beatdown Clan the Beat Off Clan. So it's like
whoa.
It was just so bad in TNA. It's like okay, well, they had like job guys. Bobby Lashley, MVP, and like a job guy or two. I'm like, really? I mean, this sucks.
I mean, I can't say anything because TNA kind of screwed Kurt Hennig too.
Oh yeah, I mean they've not been
to heck with TNA.
Talent. So yeah, they've been doing the same group now for over 10 years. So now MVP, it's like, okay, so you have Bob. If I had Bobby Lashley and I'm a booker, I'm like, okay, I have Bobby Lashley.
Mm-hmm.
He needs to be in the world title picture. Like, why is he feuding with Swerve randomly? So it's like, okay, I have a champion in John Moxley, who in his group are playing a white nationalist, white supremacist. I have 3 good-looking black guys that are in great shape. That's a natural feud right there. That can that's a natural feud, and Bobby should beat John Moxley for the world title. Look at John Moxley. Bobby can kill him in 10 seconds if he wanted to.
They literally were talking about how this whole Moxley reset is going on, and I was just like, ugh, boring.
It's terrible. I mean, Moxley acts like he's the company savior, and and he saved because the whole wannabe NWO angle that the Elite did in the summer when they gave a pile driver to Tony Khan for no reason. That went nowhere, by the way. Tony Khan never got his revenge. Tony Khan never got revenge, never fired the Elite, never did anything to them. And now they're kind of off TV now, the Elite. They're like, they don't even exist. They're gone. And now John Moxley doing this reset, and now he's trying to take over AEW now in storyline, him and his white supremacist group for no reason. So I'm like, okay, I have Bobby Lashley, who's one of the better workers, and he's black. He should be a babyface going up against the white nationalist heels, and there's your feud right there. And I'm not saying that Bobby Lashley should get the belt immediately. I mean, the white supremacists probably should screw him over once or twice before they finally, get a belt in one of the big shows, which wouldn't be until next year. But because next year AEW is going to Australia, so they're trying to really expand with no TV. By the way, there's no TV AEW has in Australia. So it doesn't make any sense, but whatever.
It makes sense to Tony Khan because he's Tony Khan.
Because even I think Jim Cornette said this a few months ago when they announced it. It's like, do they have any TV in Australia? I was like, Brian, no. I mean, not. Why is he doing? I don't know. And then it's like you usually how it works. You want to have a television deal in a country for a year and a half before you even think about going out there, because you got to build an audience first who wants to see these guys in person. Australia is a WWE territory, WWE country.
What? No, I totally agree because I mean, it's when WWE goes to Sydney, they at least do, decent work there. And I'm going to say this later too because of the whole Dutch Mantel and Dave Meltzer thing.
I haven't forgotten.
But I mean, and I was telling this to my man. I said they're not even doing the numbers. They're doing worse than NXT, and NXT is the down roster of the WWE, which is the real roster,
the developmental.
It's developing kids that are literally coming out of wrestling school saying, "Okay, I want to wrestle and be the big time." So they're doing worse than that, but not only that, but they're doing worse than WCW was right before WCW got bought by Vince.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, WCW was still doing way better than AEW. Come on, Papa Khan, it's time to pull that plug. Your son is a failure at wrestling booking, at booking wrestling.
Yeah, I mean, he has a natural feud there between Moxley and Bobby Lashley. Because, like I said, white nationalist group,
right?
Black man, or a black group.
Yeah.
I mean, you have a race war right there. And it's like, I know, that's controversial these days, but WWF did it back in the 90s. Nation of Domination versus the Boricuas, and fucking white, Ron and Don Harris were involved in that, and the white dudes, so they had race wars all the time in the Attitude Era.
Yeah.
But that was the Attitude Era. But these days, race war, maybe, oh my God, it's George Floyd riots, and we're not comfortable with that. But so
and I think a lot of that Black Lives Matter stuff, a lot of people were left holding the bag for that while other people got rich.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't really say that was anything but probably a psyop.
At this point, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's just nothing. Only thing got accomplished is this Minneapolis got destroyed, and now there's people are more pro-police than they've ever been in this country. So it doesn't, it just didn't work the way they intended it to. But I digress. Yeah, I mean, that you need instead with AEW, their genius idea is to have Moxley feud with Orange Cassidy.
Oh God, Orange Cassidy. I'm sorry.
In the main event of the next pay-per-view is going to be Moxley versus Orange Cassidy. And the assumption is Orange Cassidy is going to win this title at some point. And Tony Khan wants to put the title on him. And if he puts that world title on him, I think Jim Cornette's going to have a conniption fit. And maybe
Brian Last hates Orange Cassidy, and for a reason. The dude can't wrestle. The dude cannot. None of those guys can wrestle. None of them. And then, of course, you have Jericho, who's all washed up, never should have been in the wrestling ring in the first place, never should have been in the wrestling business, let alone a wrestling ring. Then you have Sting, who retired, supposedly. Now he's going to come back. Darby Allin wants to climb a mountain instead of wrestle, and I'm like, why don't you just go climb a mountain then? I mean, what made you come into the wrestling ring if you wanted to climb Mount Everest? You don't need to be a wrestler. You don't need to be a wrestler for that.
he still intends on climbing Everest at some point next year. Like breaking your foot right before your climb didn't give you a clue. Like, oh, maybe I shouldn't do this. I mean,
or putting your head down like this and getting hit with a bus on your
yeah.
face.
It's like somebody's trying to send you a message like, don't climb Everest, dude. You're probably
Yeah, and don't be a wrestler
Mm-hmm.
either.
Yeah, it's like don't climb. It's like no, but it's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna climb next year. And Tony's like, oh yeah, great idea. Go ahead, buddy. I'll keep sending your check. Oh, you died and you're still up there? Huh. Well, obviously I don't send you a check anymore. Because I mean, people don't.
Perfect crime.
I'm sure people don't know this, but there people who go missing on Everest stay there. They don't get your body. I mean, the people climb Everest see bodies there all the time. It's like, oh, yeah. I mean, that's how dangerous it is. And the government, they don't pick up your body. It's like, no, they leave him there.
So be a missing persons who's not really missing because they'll find his body. They won't do anything with it.
No, they'll just leave him there.
There's so much that you folks are the best. Why? Because we want the demise of of a dumb person who shouldn't be a wrestler. I mean, he's asking for it. He's asking for it. Darby Allin is asking for it.
Yeah, but it's like, really? I got Bobby Lashley. I'm like, I'm not doing this Orange Cassidy thing. I mean, there's an obvious natural feud there. Bobby is a babyface. Because he's over with the AEW crowd. They cheered him when he came out, when he debuted. It's like,
right, but remember, Tony Khan doesn't know how to book right, so it's going to be crap anyway.
No, I know.
Whatever they do with Bobby Lashley is kind of like, okay, get him away.
I know. D is here. He says, my peeps, are you excited for Survivor Series?
Yes.
Yeah.
I just
talked about a little bit Survivor Series.
Yeah, so I got a spoiler alert. That is going to be Seth Rollins instead of, I was hoping it was going to be Braun Breaker because, I mean, Braun's a beast. He's a beast. So is Bronson Reed. I almost said Braun Reed. Bronson Reed is like literally, he's a beast. And so is Braun Breaker. And I could see them clashing and having a great match. But if it's going to be Seth Rollins, it's like letting the air out of the tire,
Like a continuation of their feud they've been having for the last month.
I get it. They have a feud. I get that. It's just, I was like, is a beast.
Yeah, so Tony Khan's going to put this world title on Orange Cassidy. He's going to be the hero of AEW. Like, he's the hero, instead of Bobby Lashley, even though that's obvious play there. Because it's not going to be Swerve. It's not going to be. Who else is there? Who else is world title material there? Bryan Danielson's gone. I mean, he's
Adam
retired.
Page, is he still there?
Yeah, but he hasn't been seen on television since he did the match.
I know. That's the problem is that you have all these guys, all this talent, and you keep them off the TV. That's not how it works.
Omega came back. It's coming back to wrestling, but in Japan.
In New Japan, yeah. They talked about that on Jim Cornette's.
Yeah, he's working a Japan show instead of, coming back to AEW. I'm like,
yeah, they were kind of like they're teasing something that no one even really freaking gave a shit about.
It's like, hey,
they're like, wait, he's back? What?
Omega is like, well, I don't think AEW needs me, so I'm just gonna work in Japan for a little bit. And Tony said, okay. I'm like, why is he saying okay? He's paying you a multi-million-dollar salary for what? It's like, oh, you ready to come back? Great. When you coming back? Well, I want to go to Japan. They're not going to Japan. I mean, we need you on television next week. When you gonna be there?
Like all of our stars are hurt, and for good reason. They keep doing stupid shit with them, putting bags over their heads and putting syringes in their mouths. Like that's exactly what I want to see. Sign me up.
I'm no fan of Omega if I'm a booker, but he's one of the top guys. It's like these fans love him, so it's like you need to be out
there. And he is that AEW top roster. I will say that
he's one of their top guys. I mean. MJF, what else has MJF been doing? I don't even remember.
I have no idea. I heard he did one last match and then he hasn't been seen again. Another big talent. He is the most talented person on your roster and no one has seen him. That's not how you make a great show, Tony Khan. Again, someone needs to take the book away from Tony Khan.
Yeah, because I'm confused on what he's even doing because last time he's having a feud with who's having a feud with? And he's feuding with somebody.
Wasn't he feuding with
Adam Cole. He's feuding with Adam Cole.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Adam Cole had a
I
match
kept thinking
against
Adam Pierce, and that doesn't sound right.
Adam Pearce, GM of Raw, but
Okay.
yeah, he had a match because right now he's doing the deal with Adam Cole, and Adam Cole is so small. If you see him like wrestle, it's like, oh my god.
Is he
So right
what,
now,
185 soaking wet?
yeah, I mean he looks smaller. Honestly, if you've seen him, he looks smaller than 185. But he's working the feud with MJF, and MJF is like, okay, you got to beat these 3 dudes randomly that I choose for you, and if you do that, then we can have a match at the pay per view. And I'm like, did he do this with Jericho already when they were feuding? He did. I mean, he did the same thing with Jericho. And now, by the way, he's a heel now. Adam Cole's babyface, even though Adam Cole betrayed him last year and had forced him to lose the title. So it was reversed with no explanation, no nothing. He just reversed the order. Now they're feuding again with Adam Cole being the babyface. So it's like that's what he's doing. I remember now.
Nobody knows what anyone's doing on AEW. It's just all train wreck.
Will Ospreay has been gone into obscurity. I don't know what he's doing, honestly, either. And I thought
who
Will
was
Ospreay,
he feuding with the last time? I think it was Danielson, wasn't it?
yeah, and now he's feuding with Kyle Fletcher. I mean, some jabroni there. Oh,
That
by the
little
way,
matchstick.
Kyle Fletcher looks like Randy Orton from 2005. Have you seen him recently? He had the same
He
haircut.
doesn't look like a little tiny matchstick.
He looks like Randy
Or
Orton.
Q-tip.
He looks like Randy Orton circa 2005. I mean, that's what he looks like. Not Randy Orton from today.
I was gonna say he's all jacked now.
No, Randy Orton from 2005. He has that haircut, and I was like, really? I mean, you could if he wanted to change his look, fine, but he obviously looks like Randy Orton from 2005, 2004 when he first started. So
Come
yeah,
back when you have meat on them bones, boys.
so I thought Will Ospreay would be champion by now. He should have been champion after the Wembley show, but it's like, oh no, well I wanted to help Swerve, so I let him beat me. These guys don't know what they're doing. None of them do. It's like
that's why it's shit.
Ospreay should be champion, but okay, fine, he's not champion. Dean Ambrose, John Moxley.
Oh.
John Moxley's the champion again. He's like what his 6th or 7th reign for whatever reason. It's like he's getting in Tony Khan's ear every time a champion gets hurt or there needs to be a switch. Hey, put the belt on me. It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I'll be this reset guy.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Like he just wanted to be champion.
I'm John Moxley. I can't do it like Brian Last.
Yeah, and then he's like, and then they're beating up, they're beating up the baby faces, and Orange Cassidy comes out and be the hero again. It's like and they're running from Orange Cassidy, the heels. And like, if it was Bobby Lashley, I would get it, but they're running from Orange Cassidy. Like, come on. I mean, you're burying yourselves. Forget about burying him. You're burying yourselves. You're 4 dudes, and you're running from Orange Cassidy.
Yeah.
And it's not like because they beat up all the other baby faces, so it wasn't like they were all standing up and ready to fight. It's like, nope, you just beat the shit out of all the baby faces. Here comes Orange Cassidy with his stupid music. They all run to the ring, and then, and
this dude doesn't look.
Nonsense.
He doesn't look like a wrestler. He looks like a person looking for the toilet. Hey, have you seen the toilet? I'm Orange Cassidy. No wonder Brian Last hates him.
Yeah, it's just awful. Ricochet's working random matches and now telling fans on Twitter to suck his D, literally he's telling people on X to suck him off for some reason. So because he's mad at them.
Okay, how about you go suck someone else off there?
Yeah. I'm like,
wow.
These these guys need the WWE to control them. A lot of them, as soon as they go to AEW, they start exposing their personality, and it's like, nah, dude. I mean, you're an asshole. It happened over and over again because WWE has a social media policy in their contracts. So there's a lot of things they can't do on social media. They can't cuss, obviously. They can't. There's a lot of they can't argue with fans to go back and forth with them. I mean, they don't. In social media, they'll do their.
The thing is, no, there wasn't social media in our time, but still, I mean, what happened to wrestlers just ignoring the fans? Now they have to yell back at them. wrestlers only did that when they wanted heat, when they wanted to get more heat for themselves. Then they would yell back at the fans or whatever. But I mean, because Kurt used to do it all the time. Brett used to do it when he was a heel.
Yeah.
Oh, he would say the funniest things to fans. So would Kurt. But I mean, the thing is, we've gone away from that, and now like the wrestlers or entertainers, it's like they start fights on purpose, and I bet I know why. Because the fans will say, "Oh, AEW sucks," and then they get butthurt little snowflakes.
Yeah.
No, my company is good. Blah blah blah. We are on the top of the ratings. We are number one. No, your ratings are in the toilet, and you suck. You're not a wrestler. You're not even an entertainer because you're not entertaining anybody. Even your own audience is leaving in droves.
Yeah. So it sucks. This all sucks. I mean, this all sucks. So,
Hey, great.
hey, Grape. Yeah, I mean, thank you for joining us. But yeah, I mean, let's see. Let's move on to the Dutch Mantel, Dave Meltzer thing, because then you have a lot to say about that, I'm sure.
I do. Are you ready for a rant, guys? Because I'm just about to rant. Okay. You want to play the thingy?
What thingy?
Oh, you don't want to play the. Well, I sent you 2 videos. One is from Dutch himself. The other one is from Jim Cornette. And the Jim Cornette one kind of let me down. I was expecting him to say every other word would be the F-bomb to Dave Meltzer. But he didn't do that. So Jim Cornette is better than I was. Because on my show, I was like, you blankety blank, 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 blank. I tried to keep my mouth clear, but it just didn't work very well. Because, I mean, that kind of stuff upsets me.
Yeah.
That it's so petty to do that kind of shit.
Yeah, I'm trying to. I have it pulled up. It's got a bunch of ads here. I gotta skip. So,
all right, you ready, Grape? I'm gonna. You ready, Dave? You ready, Grape? Because I'm about to get mean.
I'm glad Dutch Mantel's still alive. I mean, he spent a lot of time in the hospital. I mean, and Dave Meltzer did that to him.
He was fighting for his life there.
Yeah.
Do you know who the person who, if they started a GoFundMe, absolutely no one would donate?
Several people.
Well, let's call this one Dave Meltzer.
Yeah.
I knew it. I knew it.
So, Dave Meltzer, the Wrestling Observer newsletter writer, prolific, effluvia spilling out from his pen or typewriter or keyboard over the decades. Anyway, he wrote something in the newsletter about you and the GoFundMe. Have you read this in full?
Some of it.
Why don't I read it all?
I haven't read it in full.
Well, not the newsletter, but the bit pertaining to you.
I read what you posted.
Okay, that's enough. So I'm going to read it here now, and I'm sure it'll come up on the screen soon enough. So essentially, Meltzer writes, you and your wife weren't doing well. There was a GoFundMe out. I'll quote this here. They had raised $64,200 with most of care, full stop. And then, just aside from the fact that he's already spelled your name wrong, and then he's just inserted a sentence, he then goes to, they had raised $64,200 with most of the top donors being anonymous. And the largest known donors were Tony Khan, $5,000, and Chris Jericho at $1,500. No mention of...
It's nice of Tony Khan and Jericho.
Fucking cheapskate. If we could just pause here. Okay, look, I get it that Tony Khan, he could not, he didn't have to donate.
Yeah.
But I hate to break it to you, but this man is a billionaire.
Yeah.
And $100K, $100,000 is more than I'll see in my fucking lifetime. But it's a drop in the bucket for someone like Tony Khan. What a fucking cheapskate you are, Tony Khan. And I wouldn't be surprised if this was like a little money. Hey, stop talking bad about me. And I got ripped for this, really, online. They're like, well, I think Tony's a nice guy. No, I don't. Stop worshiping billionaires. Billionaires are not there to have fun. They're not there to be worshipped. They are not going to help you. I didn't see Tony Khan offer to pay off Dutch's bills.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
can see that, and he could wipe them out and still have plenty left over.
he accrued. I think it's 6 figures he owes, right? Or his medical bills or something. I mean, it's
Yeah. They said he's up over 100K right now.
yeah,
But yeah, because again, the hospital bills. Him and his wife were in and out, and they almost lost their lives, guys. I mean, this is really serious. And then for David Meltzer to be like, "Well, how dare you? My boyfriend, he gave $5,000 to your petty little bills." And Chris Jericho too. Chris Jericho is fucking irrelevant. He makes millions of dollars, and he gave $1,500.
Yeah.
You fucking cheapskates.
So apparently, they both had sepsis and diverticulitis, which is very serious, and
Which is very serious, and it takes. I mean, crap, I forgot now who has it, and they had to step away.
Yeah.
Oh shoot! Now I know Omega had it, but someone has it right now, and they're not allowed to. I mean, it's really serious.
Yeah.
And the fact, and this is what I was saying on my show the other day. People were like, "Well, how much did you donate?" I didn't, because I'm fucking poor, you dumbasses. I don't have a fucking pot to piss in or a fucking window to throw it out of.
Mm-hmm.
How would you like it if you were in my shoes? You have fucking 4 jobs and you can barely make ends meet, people. It's called poverty.
Mm-hmm.
You should fucking try it sometime. Oh, it must be nice to sit here and criticize me when you're fucking praising a billionaire who doesn't give a fuck about you. Or Dutch Mantel.
Mm-hmm. Hey, here's $5,000.
Of many anonymous people, no mention of Jim Cornette, who donated $5,000.
Oh yeah,
that kind of thing.
Corny gave $5,000 too. They're not listed here, but
no mention of the anonymous person who donated $5,500. So that being said, with Khan, many
James,
pointed out that Mantel as a
guy
podcaster
talking.
was brutal to Khan, even being critical of him when the promotion was at its peak popularity. Or popularity peak, and recently criticised him for the contract terms Swerve Strickland got on his recent deal. It is something when a former wrestler gets mad at a promoter who clearly can afford it for what he pays the top talent, and he was doing it after he knew the new deal was put together that was going to make the company exceedingly profitable. Wrestlers using the old school he doesn't draw money and not understanding that this isn't a mom and pop week to week business based on live event numbers, but one that is in a worst case scenario year would generate $250 million next year, and that most of that revenue is guaranteed ahead of time. It's difficult reading that out loud because it never scans well. So basically what he's done is, and I've said this on a video on WSI as well that a lot of people watch, basically Meltzer has turned the milk of human kindness of 2,000 people donating and basically turned it into a hit piece on you because you have been critical about AEW booking in the past.
Well, I try not to give anything Dave Meltzer writes any believability or credence. But that kind of pissed me off because all of a sudden,
It pissed me off, and it
I
didn't
think
even
this
happen to
speaks
me.
more of Tony Khan's humanity than it says anything about me. Even though, yeah, I have been critical of him,
And rightfully so.
isn't that my job? To go on here and talk about the business? And yes, I have said that he needs more story, and he just doesn't need to put matches together and have them go 15 minutes for no apparent reason other than they're going to have a good match. I mean, I've seen acrobatics and I've seen gymnastics. I've seen the greatest moves in the world. Everybody has, if you watch enough wrestling on TV.
yeah.
But tell me a story. So I'm doing my job, but he's saying, oh, I blasted him. And I think it says much more about Tony Khan than it does about me, really. Because it's like, how many people has Dave Meltzer knocked?
Well,
So
you,
anyway,
you
if
just
somebody-
then, at your lowest point.
No kidding. And you can knock me, Dave. I mean, but you're knocking my family now. And that is a no-no almost in any business.
Yeah, wrestling.
I almost died. My wife almost died.
His wife
But
almost
yet,
died.
Yeah.
You, to make a point that you don't like me, you got to come out and you got to blast me for that. So
because he talked
yes, I
about
did
Tony Khan. Can you pause for just a second?
Not flattering things about Tony Khan.
Yeah.
Sure.
So basically, this is all because Dave Meltzer sucks the dick of Tony Khan. And how dare you talk bad about my boyfriend? My boyfriend, Tony Khan, knows what he's doing. How dare you? Fuck you, Dave Meltzer. Fuck you, and keep sucking that fucking dick.
Nah.
That's all you're worth.
Yeah, we need a wrestling union. Some of these old G wrestlers and managers would be okay with a pension or something after retirement. Not all known names can make money and their fame any are forgotten.
Jake the Snake. Jake the Snake had to go fund me because he needed surgery and people were giving to Jake the Snake.
Hacksaw
And Jake was absolutely like flabbergasted. He couldn't believe that people were donating for him so that he could have surgery. See, this is what I'm talking about. Dave Meltzer has lost his fucking mind, and he's lost it for the past 10 years, giving 7-star matches to fucking idiots who couldn't lace up Bret Hart or Kurt Hennig's boots. They are not wrestlers, Dave Meltzer. They are not even entertainers. They are shit people who shouldn't even be near a fucking wrestling ring, let alone in the wrestling business, you fucking moron. This is what I was hoping that Jim Cornette was going to say. I thought he was going to call Meltzer every fucking name in the book, because how dare you, Dave Meltzer? How the fuck would you like it if we went after your fucking wife, if you even fucking have one, because you're too busy sucking the dick of Tony Khan? You even have a fucking wife? No, because you're probably the worst person in the fucking world, and who would want to fuck you anyway? Go fuck yourself and keep sucking the dick of Tony Khan. You fucking asshole. Damn, I sound like Jim Cornette. Word to Jim.
Tony Khan. But Meltzer, you've done a lot worse because you've had your thing going a lot longer than I have. And I was just basically doing my job. So he pisses me off. I can't quite get my thoughts together. Well, I'm still recovering from what he said. I would like to walk up on him. I can't now. I'm too old now. But I would just like to walk up on Meltzer and just slap the dog shit out of him. Really.
I'd help you.
Because some things deserve a good, hard slapping. Not a punch, but a slapping.
I'd help you.
I've read some of Meltzer's stuff. Yeah, I could knock that too. And I've always said he is a good writer. He's a prolific writer, but he just writes too much. And he goes on and on and on and on. So I don't even know why people even pay attention to him anymore. But I don't even know why he had to get that in there. Unless you said he had a score to settle with me. And why was that score? And you're right. You're on your analysis of it. Yeah, he's pissed at me. And he's been pissed for like 5 years.
Yeah, okay, so so we've talked about this before. Is this purely over a disagreement over how many people were at an event in Memphis back in the day? Or am I reading something else out of it?
No, he was printing a bunch of misinformation. And when I tried to correct him, he wasn't going to do that.
Yeah.
I did this on Twitter when it was still Twitter. And all of a sudden, I blasted him a couple of times on there, and people were reading it, and he just blocked me out of the clear blue.
Badge of honor.
And I've never heard another word from him.
Consider
now, that's
it a badge
chicken
of honor.
shit way to do. If he wants to defend himself, defend yourself, Dave. But he said, I think he told somebody he was clogging up my Twitter, and he was doing this, and he was doing no. I was telling the truth, and you didn't want people to know it, Dave.
Yeah, truth hurts.
I've left it alone for now, but I wish I still had that thread, but I don't anymore.
That being said, my video that I did a couple of days ago has done 125,000 views, right? Something like that. And there's no way he can't know about it. There's no way that he can't. Here's the thing. I don't think he will ever reference it. Because like when he referenced, when he posted on a Wrestling Observer bulletin board forum, this like screenshot of an Excel spreadsheet of AEW's expenses of 2023 or whatever it was, And it was just something that
complete
somebody
hogwash.
made up.
Yeah, it was
and then without checking anyone, Meltzer.
He did. A random guy on X put up the spreadsheet of all their expenses. He just posted it like, "Oh yeah, look, this is real." It was like, turned out it wasn't. It was some random dude.
What happened, Dave Meltzer? I thought you did actual journalism. You actually follow up with your story. Now all of a sudden you just sucked the dick of Tony Khan and your brain fell out your head or something.
No.
You're a propagandist.
Meltzer hasn't done anything like written anything good in decades. I mean, people pay to to read his newsletter and to listen to that show with Brian Alvarez, which they've been doing more and more arguing lately. So I don't think they're really good terms.
And Jim Cornette was like, "I hate when dad and dad fight."
He posted it as real and then started analysing it. He even had the word guess, the actual word guess on it. And he still thought it was red. The point was that he's never acknowledged that because there's no defending it. But he won't come out and apologise. And I think it's the same with this. He probably won't ever reference this, that he's written this bullshit about you and tried to bring it back to AEW because he's fucking obsessed.
We know people are going to call
because
out.
He can't defend it.
And then he can just block
because it just makes him look like the dickhead that he is. It's as simple as that.
I blocked him.
Now, let me...
Yeah, he blocked me too. I said something. I don't remember what it was. I tweeted. He responded to me once, and I responded to him. And then he blocked me. Like he never responded to me again. It's like, oh, okay. So
I blocked him.
He blocked me too. So he's not. He didn't just block. He blocked a lot of people in the business.
That's okay. I blocked him because I didn't really want to see the propaganda anymore. Sorry, Dave Meltzer. Not sorry.
He blocked Jim Cornette. I think he blocked a lot of people in business now on Twitter.
He did what they call a Grimm job. Remember when Jimmy Dore said that Ryan Grimm blocked him, but still continued to talk badly about him? Same thing with Dutch Mantel. He literally did. Dave Meltzer did a Grimm job to Dutch Mantel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he blocked him and then started talking shit about him. And was like, dude, if you unblock me, not
You're nothing but a fucking little pussy ass bitch snowflake, Dave Meltzer. And it must be good to suck a lot of rich cock because that's what you're doing right now. And you know.
People's
You're
always
a fucking butthurt snowflake.
People always assume for years that Tony Khan's paying Dave Meltzer. That's why he's so gung ho about AEW.
I hope he's paying them a lot, and I hope that's a good lay because I hate to break it to you, Meltzer. AEW sucks. It sucks. It's all shit. That's why no one fucking watches it, and the ratings are low.
You call him a dickhead?
No, he's an absolute raging dickhead, and I don't know why. Because he just constantly, he's just this condescending
because he literally sucks a dick
shit that he writes
Tony Khan
all the time to Twitter. I was like, reading is your friend. Yeah, reading is your friend. Well, reading what you wrote, Dave, in that has fucking cost me a few IQ points. It was so badly written and so unbelievably
like Russo
fucking poorly thought out just to settle a score with Dutch. Anyway. Let me just also read a couple of things. One, okay, a couple of times we made fun of Tony Khan, but like when he's got bug eyes and he's looking around constantly, and he's not very good at the news, the post-show scrums, your favourite word.
But that's not a knock. I would have said, he was sitting there like that.
I'd say that to you if you were doing that. Yes. It's like, man, you look like you had bug eyes and didn't know what you were doing out there.
No kidding.
Is he paranoid? Is he on coke?
I've said this about Tony Khan.
Tony's awkward. I mean, he's awkward in public. He shouldn't even be the public face of the company.
I know. I mean, seriously, is he on cocaine or something? I mean,
I would figure Adderall, but he takes too much
Adderall. Okay, same thing.
Kind of cocaine, but legal version of it. It's like a stimulant.
Yeah, Adderall. Yeah.
But I mean, he's awkward. Like if he doesn't have to be the face of the company. Hell, I mean. Be the booker, be the promoter, whatever, but let somebody else be the face,
Yeah, don't put your face on TV because you're ugly as shit. Oh, I'm sorry, Meltzer. Did that hurt your little feelings? Oh.
Yeah, he could still be the booker or the promoter or whatever, pay the bills, but problem is it's about him. He wants to be Vince McMahon. I mean, that's been an obsession.
And you're not Vince McMahon. That's the thing. You were born with a silver spoon in your mouth. Vince wasn't. Now, I'm not sticking up for Vince, and I said this on my show. I'm not a fan of Vince McMahon. But for fuck's sake, Tony Khan, at least Vince McMahon had people around him who fucking were talented and knew what the fucking hell they were doing. And that's why Vince is a billionaire.
the crazy guy was raised in a trailer park in South Carolina, so it's not like he didn't meet his dad until he was like 12 or 13. So
and his dad was in the wrestling business. Your dad just does NFL, and not even well.
His dad was one of the inventors of something to do with the wheel, which is why they're all billionaires, because they collect that with the money from that. And then he bought the Jaguars, who they suck every year. So, and Tony Khan's also involved with that. He also owns a team in the Premier League in Europe. So Tony is like, oh, well, I do this and I do that. Like, no, you don't own these teams. Your father does.
But you wanted to be a wrestling promoter. Mm-hmm. And as Dusty Rhodes, to paraphrase Dusty Rhodes, don't do shit you can't do. You can't do it, Tony Khan. You cannot do it. You suck at it.
You can't do it, baby. Just don't do it.
The first time I met him, Jacksonville, Florida,
I met him.
He came up and introduced himself to me. I didn't know him from Adam's House Cat. But he came up and introduced himself, and I found out about him. Very, very nice man. Very nice guy.
Sure he is.
And I could tell by the way he was talking, he was a wrestling lover. He loved
That doesn't
wrestling.
mean he's a good
I was still with WWE at the time.
Yeah.
And he's from Jacksonville, so, you know.
That's for still in WWE doing that gimmick, Zeb Coulter.
Mm-hmm.
So he was still in WWE when they met.
Just because one loves wrestling does not make you a wrestling genius.
Yeah, Dutch couldn't tell he was a mark. He's like, oh yeah, this guy's a wrestling fan. Like he's a mark,
Yeah.
I talked to him about 15 or 20 minutes. And everything he was asking me about wrestling and he said he wanted to get into it then. Of course, you hear that a lot of times.
A wrestler.
Yeah.
But I didn't even know who he was. Until I went back and I said, hey, who is that? Who is that guy? And somebody told me who he was. And I remember he wanted to talk to Arn Anderson too. And he ended up, I said, Arn,
this guy,
a guy named Tony Khan out here, he wants to talk to you. And I think Arn had heard about him. And Arn went out there. Then I saw Arn talk to him for quite a while. But I had nothing but a positive impression of Tony Khan. And when he started the company, good for him. Now he can give some of these wrestlers.
Yeah, back in 2019 when he started the company, WWE wasn't its worst. It was horrible. I mean, the WWE doing 2019 that's like the worst year of WWE television I've ever seen. I mean, it was awful. It was like people were still coming to the shows, but it was just so bad. Yeah. And then Tony Khan happened to start as the AEW in the same year, so people were like, "Holy shit, this is at least something," I mean. And quickly,
it's not WWE,
Yeah, quickly people realized within like 8 weeks the ratings went down. And I gave up on it too after like 8 weeks too. It was like, oh.
Well, and that's the thing that, everyone was looking for an alternative. And there's still people out there, well, WWE still sucks. Well, yeah, there's part of their shit I still hate about WWE.
Yeah,
all the irrelevant shit that they do with the women. The women's war games is shit. It's literal shit. LA Knight, he may be popular with the crowds, but I mean, his matches are still shit.
Yeah,
I don't watch it. Yeah, so there's stuff about WWE I don't like. I still don't like, but there's stuff that's very interesting. The CM Punk and Drew McIntyre, you couldn't write that better. Yeah. Tony Khan couldn't write that better.
Yeah, that was a combination of the talent and Triple H booking it. That made it like incredible. It's the best feud of the year by far in wrestling. So, all right, let's see what else Dutch has to say.
He can give them a job.
He can
give them a place to make some money, and he can see what he can do with it. And some guys are good at booking, some guys aren't. Some guys are good at wrestling, some guys aren't. But I think what
he's not
Tony, Tony, and I've heard this, how can Tony book 3 shows at one time?
He can't.
I don't know any booker who could do that and not suffer burnout.
And also help on the Jacksonville Jaguars.
No offense, but wasn't Vince doing like 3 or 4 shows?
Well, that was Vince. He's a fucking psychopath, so he could do it. But who
That's
else
what I
could
said
do
on
it?
my show. I was like, I'm pretty sure Vince had 3 or 4 shows that he was booking. He had Saturday Night's Main Event. He had Prime Time. He had Wrestling Challenge, plus Superstars was eventually in there too. And Superstars went on for a very long time. Saturday Night's Main Event went on for a little while. Primetime Wrestling went on for a little while. And then he got Raw. Then he got All American Wrestling. Plus Superstars was still going on.
Syndicated.
I mean, yeah, and then eventually you get Raw and SmackDown and Sunday Night Heat. And I mean, Vince is just a phenomenon unto himself. But I mean, there's someone who did it before Tony Khan, so don't feel too sorry for Tony Khan.
Yeah, he also
has people he probably says, that do it. I'm sure they have writers in WWE or in AEW. So there's people that legislate all that stuff. So it's not just Tony Khan. And he deals with the Jaguars and blah, blah, blah. Vince only dealt with wrestling. But actually, no, Vince had the bodybuilders. So he was also doing stuff outside of wrestling.
Yeah, the WBF it started in the early 90s, and a lot of the talent was like, not the WBF bodybuilders got guaranteed contracts. They had first class plane tickets. I mean, Vince gave them everything they wanted, and the wrestlers were barely making any money. They were barely feeding on scraps, and it was like, really, you're gonna give all your money to these fucking Bret Hart was like these fucking bodybuilders who just do this all day? Come on, Vince. It's bullshit.
Right. And we're out here busting our asses for entertainment, for people's entertainment, and you're treating us like shit, but you're treating the bodybuilders who just do this all day.
Yeah, Brett was like, just do this shit all day. How's this a sport? Like, this is not a sport, the guys who is like, so yeah, he just roasted the WBF. Oh, and Bret Hart told the story about Ico Pro. Remember when Vince had the Ico Pro, like
93. 92, 93.
And Brett, like, I got cases of that shit to my house. I just gave it away to my neighbors and stuff. Do you want this shit? And and then they all took it, but I just gave it away to whoever wanted it. But he took it once. It was awful. It was like that. It was like chalk. It was like chalk. He didn't want it. It's a supplement. It was like one of those supplements.
Yeah. And you don't know what was in there. Yeah. Hopefully, not anything that would hurt you. But I mean. You never know what's in that kind of shit. And that's the problem. Like, guys take all these supplements so they can get big. And really, the only thing that made them big was the steroids.
Yeah, it turned. There's sometimes where these supplements they actually like put steroids in them and you don't even know about it because they've tested these supplements. It's like, oh shit, some of this stuff does have, steroids in them.
Oh, yeah.
It turns out you're taking steroids without even realizing it.
Wow.
And Fulham Football Club as well. So he's got 3 full-time jobs, really.
No,
no one has said that he's not incredibly hardworking. Everyone I've talked to said he's really nice, really generous. I said it in the other video. I'd love to shake his hand and say thank you.
Tony delegates.
I don't see him working any job.
Yeah, I'm sure. The only job he really works at is the AEW because he loves wrestling. Number one love. Everything else he does, I'm sure it's delegated to employees in the Jaguars or Fulham, the football team, the football soccer team, or whatever else he owns or his dad owns. His dad actually owns all this stuff, not even him. I mean,
it's not even him. It's more his dad.
His dad technically owns AEW. He just let Tony run it, do whatever he wants with it. So
kind of like what Shane McMahon wanted to do when Vince bought WCW. Vince bought WCW and Shane wanted to run it. Right. He was going to actually try to buy it from Vince.
Vince was like, "Oh no, pal, I'll do it." So, and we never finished going over the McMahon documentary, but we showed the clip where Vince was like, "Oh, you want to take over the company? You're gonna have to stab me. Here, take this knife and stab me." Like Vince is a psychopath. He's a straight up psychopath. I mean. I would have killed my dad if he wouldn't.
Are we going to go over to Rumble, or are we kind of past that now?
No, it's almost 9:30. We passed that, okay. But let's just finish this. I already told Alex that we're not. It's late, We kind of ran long this week, so all right. Let's
for what he's done for you, and obviously, as I say, he's a wrestling fan at heart, as we all are, and. A lot of the videos that we do criticizing the booking or production or whatever, it's not just blind hatred of the product. It is there's always a lesson. There's always constructive criticism or an idea of how it could be done or where
Oh,
something
I'm
could
saying
go
it's crap.
from
You
there.
you can hate the content, but not hate the creator. I mean, Dave
hate
throws
both.
all that in together
You could, but
because
I mean,
what
it's
he
a
was
rich
saying
kid.
was Tony
Rich
Khan
kid never
was
heard
an
the word
idiot
no.
for donating to somebody who had knocked him in the past.
yeah, that's what Dave
But-
basically said.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But not him.
Dave,
The product. Ultimately.
Yes.
Now
I wasn't knocking Tony ever.
Now that being said, he also says that you had mentioned that critical of AEW, the peak popularity, if I can say that, because that wasn't true, because we started talking about AEW as soon as Brawl Out happened and CM Punk left, and then popularity sort of went downwards from there because CM Punk had left, and then they didn't really capitalize on it. That being said, he also says a video recently criticizing contract terms that Swerve Strickland got in his recent deal. And it's like, yeah, we did do that because he hadn't been booked very well and he wasn't a very strong champion, but then he'd been given a huge amount of money. And then he says, even though AEW had been given a massive new deal, and it's like, well, by the time we made that video, no deal for AEW had been announced whatsoever. So that's a complete lie. And then he then also says,
Not only that, the fact that he was also kind of sounding like he was putting down Swerve Strickland. Oh, he couldn't draw money. Well, no, because he sucked as a champion. He shouldn't have been champion, Tony Khan.
Tony horribly booked him too. So
you put him with Kyle Fletcher, who is a matchstick.
Yeah,
that's not a good match for a champion who's the face of your champion, face of the company. Excuse me.
Yeah, he mishandled him as champion. So
if you're gonna have matches with your champion, make sure that they're with people who can also sustain the company too.
And then he gave him a massive deal, like he's Roman Reigns or he's like Cody Rhodes or something. It was ridiculous, the contract. And if I were Swerve, I'll sign that contract immediately. I'm like,
well, yeah, because that's more money than you're ever going to see anywhere else, right?
He's not going to make that in WWE, so it's like, he wouldn't be a top guy, probably be in the mid card. So
yeah, he probably. I mean, they treated him like a jobber. They treated the champion like he was a jobber.
It's ridiculous. Yeah,
that's not a good company. Then you shouldn't be in business. And your ratings are public knowledge. Everyone can see them. All you have to do is look them the fuck up. It's not like we're keeping this shit secret. And we all know, Tony Khan, that your ratings suck. You can't even get, after the CM Punk thing, you never recovered because you're a lying sack of shit who literally lied about CM Punk so that you could, make yourself feel better as you jack yourself off at night? What the fuck?
He played the Wembley tape where Jungle Jackoff got beat up by CM Punk. The Bucks played it.
That doesn't look good for you either.
No,
your wrestlers are shit. Your wrestlers are butthurt little snowflakes that can get beat up in a real fight.
Yeah, Jungle Jackoff got beat up by CM Punk for real, and now he's their TNT champion. It's like, who takes him seriously? I mean, he just got beat up.
You can't take it seriously.
Punk. And yes, I know CM Punk did MMA, but he should be able to defend himself a little bit.
Punk was correct when he said, I work with children.
Yeah.
Because now that, yes, they look like children who can get beat up at the drop of a hat when a real wrestler comes into it.
Yeah.
If that had happened back with, let's say, in our era, or even in the territories, or back when like Bruiser Brody and stuff, or Harley Race. If that had happened to Harley Race would be disgraced. He probably would never wrestle again. No. If he lost a real fight, he probably would never, ever go back into wrestling. He would probably be fired and no territory would pick him up.
Bill Watts had a rule. If you got into a real fight, you had to win it. If not,
you had to win it or don't come back.
Territory, yeah, he would.
Yeah, or don't come back.
So that's
because
why
if someone tells someone else that you got your ass kicked in a real fight, guess what? No one's going to believe you're a true good wrestler.
Bill Watts, I don't care how many fights you get into. You just make sure you win them because you can't get beat
win them.
Mark. You can't get beat up by Mark, yeah. Or else, don't come back. I fight, you're fired. I might as well go to another territory then.
Yeah.
Don't even come back.
And hope that nobody in
wrestlers
that
using the old school.
Heard.
He doesn't draw.
I heard about your back in those days. So it was kind of, each territory kind of isolated, so you wouldn't hear about what happened in the territories unless you purposely went out and became a tape trader and started trading tapes with other people.
Right.
That's the only way you would know. But
there's also a story, and I don't remember the wrestlers' names, but they were babyface and heel, and they were feuding. They were the top feud in the territory at the time, and they were caught at the one guy asked the other guy to come to a cookout because they were friends.
Yeah,
they were friends, but they were also feuding on the show. And the other guy went to the cookout, and the promoter fired them both. Yeah, you're not supposed to be seen with the baby faces, right? Now it's just, oh well, there is no kayfabe, so just fuck it, you know. Yeah, show up and look at Kevin Owens, who's supposed to be a psychopath. Oh, just have Randy Orton show up and look at his Lamborghini and go, "Ooh, this is nice." Oh shit! No more kayfabe there.
Kayfabe doesn't exist in wrestling.
It doesn't exist in wrestling anymore.
Yeah, back in those days, it did, and Hacksaw Jim Duggan told a story about Watson, and when he went to Louisiana to their territory, like this guy, I couldn't see it because he had blood. He got jumped by this guy. He couldn't see. He's like, I got to win this fight, or else then I'm gonna get fired, and I don't know where I'm gonna
fired. And you better hope no one else finds out about that fight in any other territory.
He ended up winning the fight, and he threw basically he broke a glass over the guy's head and just tried to rip his face apart. And eventually, it's like, let me. They kicked him out of the bar, and he's like, let me at him, let me. And then I forget who was with him. It was somebody else, and he's like, hey, Jim, the fucking police come. I'll get the fuck out of here. And they all left. But
I wouldn't. There's one person. There's several wrestlers I wouldn't mess with. One of them was Peter Maivia. They said he would eat you. He would literally take chunks out of you. He would bite you and eat you. That's one man you didn't want to fuck with. He would take chunks out of you.
He would. It was him. He was in Hawaii when he was eating dinner with some wrestler, and some wrestler disrespected him. It's like, what are you eating, like a savage? And then it's like that set off Peter. He beat the shit out of him in that restaurant and threw him out a window. And then he lost an eye or something during that fight. So he just beat the shit out of him.
I forget who said it now, but someone had seen him he was out with his daughter and his wife. They were all out together, and he said some guy came past and said, "Oh, you fake wrestler," or whatever. Peter Maivia got out of the car, started beating the shit out of this guy and eating chunks out of him, like taking chunks out of him. Yeah. like cannibalism, that. I'm like, nope. I'd turn around and I would, yes, sir, no, sir, and I would walk away.
It was Harley Race. You wouldn't mess with Harley. You wouldn't dare.
I wouldn't mess with Harley Race. Larry Hennig. There's another guy I wouldn't mess with. At least Larry wouldn't eat you, but I mean, I wouldn't want to mess with him. I'd be a grease spot on your floor.
Yeah, he literally started off in wrestling in the in the carnivals, like the old school wrestling back in the 60s and 50s, and he would beat up marks for real. You know, it's like, so you had to know how to defend yourself. So I wouldn't mess with him. I mean, a lot of these guys were characters, and they were their character. It wasn't like, hey, here, you're gonna play a pirate, or you're gonna do this, or it's like, yeah, this is who I am. I get yourself booked in territories, and good luck to you, kid.
Draw money and not understanding that this isn't a mom and pop week to week business based on right. Okay, so what? I won't reread it all, but all that Dave Meltzer has basically confirmed is that he doesn't think Swerve Strickland draws money either.
No,
because he doesn't.
That's basically that's what he's saying.
So all he's done is criticize Tony Khan, criticize you, unknowingly criticize Swerve Strickland for not being a drawer and getting overpaid, or getting paid by someone who can afford to pay him a lot of money. He always has to bring it to AEW. Even, what was it, Nikki Bella, he posted not too long ago that she was a victim of DV, domestic abuse, and somehow he brought that back to AEW.
That had nothing to do with AEW.
Also, keep in mind that Dave Meltzer personally wants...
Nikki Bella was a victim of DV recently, and
yes, but that had nothing to do with AEW.
Yeah.
Unless they were talking about, like, there was DV or whatever. Unless they were saying that was happening in
AEW. I don't know how you connect
AEW.
because it's Bree that's married. So Danielson.
Yeah, Bree. Yeah.
They were both talking.
So maybe Dave Meltzer got confused because he has dementia and Alzheimer's and forgot that. I mean, I think Dave Meltzer has become the new Joe Biden. To be honest with you, I think literally the man has dementia. I think he needs to get checked out. But I think he misconstrued Brie Bella for Nikki Bella. I don't know if he knows the difference.
Yeah, they're twins, but they were both talking with Tony about coming in allegedly. So it's like because they're out of WWE, so it's like okay. So I don't know what happened with that. They're still, I guess that fell through, but yeah,
he once wrote that a wrestler called, I think it's Shibata, had his brain removed and then put back in a couple of years ago.
Like, really? Literally?
It was like, maybe Dave Meltzer's had his fucking smooth brain removed, and they forgot to put it back in. And now he's just like, his body's just like some sort of just...
Too stupid to keel over.
Just doing it automatically.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
I think he's totally off on a lot of the things he says. But if you call him out on it, it's like a personal attack on him.
Or Tony Khan.
Listen, Dave, you call yourself a wrestling historian, I guess. But he's not he doesn't give you the news. He gives you his opinion.
Yeah.
Of course, the national news for years and years, on the national news, they've always given opinion too. So, but Dave beat them to that.
Yeah.
So he wouldn't say this and this and this and this. He gave you his reasons behind it. And Dave had a sordid history in the wrestling business anyway. Yeah. Because I've known him a long, long time, and I met him for the first time, I think, in Smoky Mountain days.
Oh, wow.
And he wasn't very friendly, because I don't think he's ever liked me anyway. And I've never liked him.
Unbiased news reporter decides that he hates somebody and then gives them unfavourable coverage while reviewing all the matches as well to his own tastes.
He's full of shit.
Yeah. I've got to say. He was all right when I interviewed him years ago, but I think he's gone absolutely... He's just... The cheese has slid off his cracker.
I think he's become Joe Biden.
He blamed podcasters for AEW not doing that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he blamed podcasters.
It's our fault and Cornette's fault and Bischoff's fault for turning all the fans against him.
Yeah, Cornette, we always put down AEW.
Yeah, he blames Cornette and Bischoff and Russo and apparently Dutch too. He hates them all because they point out the
truth. We point out the truth about Tony Khan. Yes.
Yeah, I can't believe that Tony Khan managed to get Jim Cornette, Eric Bischoff, and Vince Russo to agree on anything, but they do.
But they do, and it's because AEW is shit.
Mm-hmm.
Is them. Bischoff buries them. But all of a sudden, he saves all his venom for me, the bastard. How can people see, if they haven't already seen, your interview or your message about Dave Meltzer?
All right, you can stop it. They're just going to talk about how when James put out he put out a video originally saying "fuck you, Meltzer" or something like that. Yeah. But anyway, if you want to, we can bring the Jim Cornette thing up. And I was so disappointed. I thought that Jim Cornette was literally going to, literally just be like, fuck you and fuck this and blah, blah, blah. And this sucks and I hate you. And how dare you go after Dutch Mantel? It's there. I know it's there.
Dave Meltzer and Brian Alvarez arguing.
No, but if you keep going, it's here it is. It's Jim Cornette and on Dave Meltzer and Dutch Mantel.
I love the art.
New Clorox Sentiva bleach.
Oops. Yeah, because he says he shit himself. It's like almost like he shit himself and then, fell in it. Dave Meltzer shit himself today and fell in it when he talked about Dutch Mantel. But I thought Jim Cornette was going to, every other word was going to be the F-bomb. But go ahead.
Yeah, Yeah.
But anyway, well, let's in the interest of keeping in the theme of having fun. We're not going to talk about election results. Let's speak about somebody that's gravely ill. How's that for a transition there? A segue, if you will, a fade in.
I'm not certain. Either really good or really bad.
Well, the subject would have thought it was hilarious.
He's still alive, by the way.
I'm saying would have if he's got better things to do than listen to this fucking show. So if he'd heard it, he would have thought it, but he didn't hear it. So if you always do what you always did, then you always get what you always got. And we are talking about, we also on the drive-through, we mentioned that Dutch Mantel has been having health issues, and his wife Kathy as well, and they've both been hospitalized. Dutch for a couple of lengthy times with sepsis, which is no joke, apparently, from everybody's feedback on that. And his wife, Kathy, multiple times for lesser periods for the issues she may have had that may be worse than his. A point being, they had a GoFundMe. We plugged the GoFundMe. A number of people in and around the wrestling business have contributed, and they've done, I'm sure it's still open, and you can, if you want to do that, we encourage it. But we're trying to do something positive, and people are trying to do something positive in the face of a not positive situation. And there was, Brian, I think on anybody's part, no reason to take the piss out of it, as they say across the pond, right?
Right.
But here comes Uncle Dave Meltzer, who has, this time, according to the feedback I get on the Twitter machine and people in their various ways trying to contact me, Dave really shit the bed and fell back in it this time, as Mama Cornette would say, because everybody's like, what in the flying fuck is wrong with you? And it's about... It's been going on for years now, and it seems to increase the ever-growing, ever-increasing, for once, I don't know what word to use, fascination, obsession, compulsion, unnatural grip on his relationship with Tony Khan, and how that
that's a relationship.
It's not just enough to report on what Tony does, not even bad, just good, but just bring him into the universe of every conversation. And when he does, Tony Khan being the he, a minor thing in his universe, if it interacts with somebody else, that becomes the most important thing about their story too. Do you see what can you word it any better as to what the fuck Dave's literal obsession is with trying to babyface Tony Khan at every opportunity?
Well, look, there's been a lot of fans since the beginning that have said things like Dave Meltzer is being paid by Tony Khan. Dave Meltzer's on the take. I've never believed that. I've never thought that was true. But that doesn't mean that Dave doesn't have an investment in AEW mentally. When Tony Khan, a professed lifelong observer reader, wanted to start AEW, who was the first person he called? Who was the first person he hired? The first person he hired was Chris Harrington. Why did he hire him? Because Dave Meltzer told him to. That was the first person he called, was Dave.
Yeah.
And
I said that.
Dave is now at a point where he acknowledges some of the bad stuff, but in the nicest possible way, but it's also months after all of us have said all these things. And then he says everyone else is out of touch because we came to the conclusions before he did.
Grandpa, anyway, got dementia again.
Well, let me...
I think Dave has a personal investment in AEW. I think Dave has a business investment in the idea of there being competition and it being strong competition. TNA has never helped the Observer grow their subscriber base, but AEW has.
Oh, that's sad.
And I think there's...
It's like when Apter used to put Mil Mascaras on the cover, or Bruno, or a Superstar, because they sold all the magazines.
The wrestlers that Dave anointed as being the purveyors of the modern style that everyone else needs to adhere to were the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega. And, you know, here we are years later. It's probably tough to realize that the Young Bucks don't mean a fucking thing.
They don't.
They don't mean anything. Do the Young Bucks mean more than the Viking Raiders right now?
No.
And those were his guys. And I think when
the Viking Raiders
people have acknowledged, I mean, the thing that's always gotten me is that when anyone has had open and honest discussions about the problems with AEW, Dave has never been in the conversation because Dave's never been willing to say the quiet part out loud, which is Tony is the problem. Tony is the solution and that he's funding it.
So you think Dave is projecting babyface-ishness on Tony because Tony's starting to get heat from the fans for, hey, this actually kind of sucks these days?
I think anyone who has been paying attention and anyone who knows any of the players involved who doesn't think that Dave Meltzer has an emotional investment in Tony Khan and AEW, anyone who doesn't acknowledge that is ridiculous. And Dave, I think if you read some of the things he says, he thinks he's been hard on Tony lately.
He hasn't.
And he doesn't realize to the rest of us, it's ridiculous. He comes to the conclusions that we all came to months after everyone else came to those conclusions. And then he tells you the bad ratings are good.
He was the captain of the ship and it sank, but he was able to save the donuts from the commissary and feed 2 of the survivors for a week. But listen, here's we've done bad radio here because a lot of the people who have real lives don't know exactly what we're referring to. I'm gonna read some of this shit here.
Okay.
Because Dave's words are much better than mine in this particular situation. Go what now?
I was gonna say now this is from the Wrestling Observer newsletter for November 11th, I believe.
Well, yeah, because people have tweeted this, they screenshotted it. He wrote this in public, so it's not like he can duck it. And everybody's been talking about it. They were talking about it when we released a few days ago the clip where we were just talking about Dutch's GoFundMe, not connecting him to anything else like normal people would do, right? Because this is serious enough. But Dave, this is Dave's reporting on Dutch's illness and his wife's illness. Dutch Mantell is not doing well, nor is his wife, Kathy. He's battled sepsis twice over the last year, and both times nearly took his life. He had a month-long stay in the hospital after the second time. His wife also had both sepsis and diverticulitis to the point she's been hospitalized 11 times since May and just had emergency bowel surgery. Has lost 70 pounds.
Wow.
Because of extended hospital stays, their insurance and life savings are depleted and started a GoFundMe. This is Dave's words here. Because both still need home care. They had raised $64,200, and this was as of the press time, which is, what date is this?
No, it wasn't as a press time, because as a press time, I think it was over 80.
Well, this is, I guess, at his press time.
He typed this part of the story.
Oh, he typed it as of his typing time.
Yeah. So.
But with most of the top donors being anonymous, and the largest known donors were Tony Khan at $5,000 and Chris Jericho at $1,500. Because at $150, that'd have been great. At $1,500,
yeah, it's a name he conveniently left off that list.
Yeah. Well, nevertheless. So that is, I'm looking at this written down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's about 10 lines for a guy who's been in the wrestling business over 50 years and has worked for all the major companies, being in bad health, right? And needing help.
Yeah, meanwhile, he wrote the career biography of Tegan Knox and Indy Hartwell in this issue.
No, we're continuing on with this story even. Here's where the story...
By the way, those 2 girls were recently fired from WWE, so that shows how his priorities at Dave.
He goes from here, the most important part that we need to know. He continues on with Khan. Many have pointed out that Mantell as a podcaster was brutal to Khan, even being critical of him when the promotion was at its popularity peak, and recently criticized him for the contract terms Swerve Strickland got in his recent deal. It is something when a former wrestler gets mad at a promoter who clearly can afford it for what he pays the top talent. Let me hold on here. I'm pretty sure Dutch probably wasn't mad.
No.
In shock, disbelief, gobsmackedness as a veteran promoter and or matchmaker, booker, office personnel would be, but I don't know if he was stomping up and down. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say it was a big topic when Swerve's contract and when Daniel Garcia's contracts were coming up or just being renewed.
Fucking dang.
The idea that Tony Khan was overpaying by multiples WWE is a big part of the story.
Yeah, well, anyway, and he continues. It is something when a former wrestler gets mad. And he was doing it after he knew the new deal was put together that was going to make the company exceedingly profitable. Wrestlers using the old school, he doesn't draw money, and not understanding that this isn't a mom and pop week-to-week business based on live event numbers, but one that in a worst-case scenario year would generate $250 million next year.
No way.
And that most of that revenue is guaranteed ahead of time. ... He went on a fucking rant defending Tony Khan's business potential or ability or whatever.
Based on the numbers Tony Khan gave him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, but also and made it a longer paragraph than Dutch's entire wrestling career when he's very ill and needs people's help. This was more important and Dutch Mantel's I don't know that Dutch ever said he wasn't taking in a lot of money.
Dutch Mantel's in the hospital. Boy, I hate those hairy fucks. I wish they would go shave off all their hair, freaks.
What the fuck?
It's like it doesn't. What the fuck? And again, for all of us who have been calling attention to all these things going on, we're not saying that Tony Khan is not taking in quite a tidy sum from his TV rights and his fucking things, and he's spending a tidy sum as well. And
that's part of the story.
But the quality of the program is pretty much what is talked about. And in that case, I'm sorry, no. But why is this a venue, a particular spot, to say Dutch Mantel's ill and needs help, and what a contribution he's made to the business for 50 years? By the way, he's a complete dumb shit. Who doesn't know what he's talking about?
And it's part of the story that Tony has to overpay guys to keep them. Yep. It's not like, he could pay anyone whatever he wants because money is, money, who cares? Woo. No, he has to. To keep them, he now has to overpay everyone.
Yeah, but
that's the issue.
Stop it for a second.
Because
I don't know if I agree with that because, I mean, really, these are people that WWE wouldn't even they wouldn't even take a second look at them. No. So I don't know what he means by that. I mean, you mean he wants to keep them from WWF? Or WWE, excuse me?
Swerve was in WWE, and I mean, Vince pretty much booked him into oblivion and then fired him. So Vince didn't give a shit about Swerve. And I don't think Triple H does either, or else he would have made more of an effort to try to bring him in.
Yeah, these are not like top guys that, if Tony Khan stopped paying them today, that they literally would just be on WWE tomorrow. No, I don't think so. I mean, these guys couldn't even, they can't wrestle. They can't entertain anybody. They're just like the scraps. They're like scraps. They would probably be in indie stuff, if anything.
And WWE didn't give two fucks about Danny Garcia. I don't care. Like he didn't need to overpay Daniel Garcia to keep him. I mean, WWE took one look at him and it's like, yeah, we got college kids that are like twice his size, ready to go, like Obafemi or stuff like that. So it's.
Yeah, on NXT. We have kids that are bigger than him than he'll ever be. I mean, he was on WWE, guys, but remember, Danielson literally he isn't relevant anymore. He ceased to be relevant a long time ago.
Yeah, I was referring to Danny Garcia, but not Danielson.
Oh, I'm sorry, Danny Garcia.
Yeah. But that applies to Danielson too. He's not relevant as he was once. So he's like in his 40s. So
and if you look at Jericho, shouldn't even be wrestling. Sting shouldn't have been wrestling. These are washed up wrestlers. Jericho should not even be in the wrestling business, let alone a wrestling ring.
Yeah, his learning tree stuff is brutal. Like every week, he's all over that television. It's brutal.
Yeah.
So, and I'm sure Meltzer loves it. So it's like, let's finish this up here.
Because the other ones can look and say, well, look at so-and-so, and he's down here on fucking Rampage, soon to be canceled. And look at me, I'm up here on, how the fuck am I? Oh, well, of course you're worth more now. And it'll be a good little cycle, and they can afford it because that's another part.
And it's going to go up. And it's going as Triple H and WWE cut off the indie pipeline, it's going to go up.
Yep.
These salaries are going to go sky high.
Because I'm not sure you know this, but WWE is starting a indie program called WWE ID. So basically, they have these schools. A lot of these they're partnering with a lot of these indie schools. Like they're partnering with Booker T's wrestling school and Cody Rhodes' wrestling school and a bunch of these other wrestling schools, and they're basically giving out these ID contracts to a lot of the top indie guys. It's like, here.
I saw some stuff about it. I heard of it on X. I saw X, like there was a line for the wrestling, the WWE ID, and then there was like nobody in the line for AEW.
Yeah.
So
the WWE ID is a program for basically they're giving indie guys, the top indie guys, money, but they're still going to work the indie circuit and get more experience before coming into the performance center. So they're paying them to basically work the indies, and
they're even kicking their ass in that.
Yeah, they're paying them to work the indies and also to teach these, like, to bring these wrestling schools up to the standard of WWE, so they don't have a lot of these shitty workers, that are hurting guys and stuff. So that also helps the indie part of wrestling too. So it's just, and meanwhile, Tony is like, oh shit, I'm fucked because a lot of these indie guys are going for the ID program, and I can't bring him in here. So now he has to overpay even more to keep the talent that he currently has, and it's going to screw him in the long run. So WWE is screwing him in the long run. So.
Well, and that's how WWE
and at the same time,
finds out their competition.
Yeah, because they're going to end up starving AEW from talent, because that's the only way Tony can survive. Like bringing in all these indie guys that his dwindling audience loves. So,
for heaven's sake, yes, there's a reason why that they've got to a point where they can be guaranteed $100 million a year from this thing, because nobody has ever been willing to spend literally hundreds of millions of dollars to get to that point, maybe. And now we will wait and see as to whether it was sound strategy in terms of how long it takes them to make that money back or whatever. But
never make that money back.
I was thinking about this the other day. Mm-hmm. For the money that they spent on the video game AEW, right?
Oh yeah.
We get best guesstimate from everybody involved was this thing has to be a $50 million deal or more. Correct.
I think the lowest number we heard was like 35, but I think it was much more than that.
It had to be much.
Well, let's say $35 million. With that amount of money, they could have when he started AEW, he could have flat out purchased every wrestling promotion in the country, and actually probably in the world, maybe with the exception of a couple of those in Japan or in Mexico and one in Japan. Purchased every wrestling promotion that had talent under contract anywhere. And just assumed those fucking contracts.
It would have been cheaper.
Instead of
a lot cheaper.
Paying guys 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 times what anybody else had ever paid them. Or now, hold on. Or now, they could have taken that money this year, over the last year, that they have run these NBA arenas and staffed them in some description, if not to just hire people. And I've seen this happens, folks. This is a thing that is done. Part of the security staff in a big, mostly empty building goes to station places to not let people go into the fucking closed off part. Mm-hmm. And they're sitting there all night going, don't go here. Don't go here. And you pay for that.
Yeah.
So at some point along the way here, how much money could he have saved by just saying, fuck it, I'm just going to Buy the company that has every wrestler except Vince under contract and start from here. Or not run these giant arenas and lose another $50 million 5 years after the fact. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Well, there's a few things there. And of course, you look at all the money that Tony Khan has spent, and it's ridiculous to think that you couldn't go in there and be more efficient and spend a whole lot less while getting to exactly where they are today. But the other thing is, Tony Khan very generously donated $5,000 to Dutch Mantel. Dave, in reporting that, it triggered this defense of AEW and Tony Khan.
For no reason.
Do you think Tony Khan wanted that?
You think?
Because I don't.
Probably not. No.
No, because Tony Khan.
I mean, even as
it looks like Tony Khan is a cheapskate.
And now it gives attention to the fact that Tony Khan just gave $5,000 instead of giving more because he could have afforded it.
Yeah, and
Meltzer just gave that attention for no reason.
Right, and I agree that it's literally like, honestly, it's like Meltzer has dementia, and he doesn't know where he's at. I think, like I said, I think he should get checked. But what they said there was, I mean, it literally was what. And like I said, I expected him to say more F-bombs. I was like, oh, that's such a letdown. But I mean, I see where they're coming from with this. But I mean, you don't even have to look at that because AEW is the shits. It's always been the shits, and it's always going to be the shits.
Before we wrap up, I forgot to mention the fact that WWE created a mid-card women's title. So it's the Women's U.S. Championship they created. There's going to be like a tournament over the next few weeks on SmackDown to decide who's the first ever Women's U.S. Champion. So it's another belt. I think WWE's way too many belts as it is, and it's I don't think there's any need for it. It should have gotten rid of the women's tag team titles and then kind of done this instead if they wanted to. But it's too many titles, and it's like coming AEW kind of all the belts. But
yeah, it's like you have a participation belt. Oh, hey, you're in the WWE. Oh, here you go. Here's a belt.
Yeah, so I
said that to my dad because it is kind of like that. You just come into and like I said, in the long run, they are going to fuck over Tony Khan, and Tony Khan's going to have to either go, well, I'll have to keep losing money, or I'm going to have to step up my game, or I'm going to have to, close down.
Because WWE is stealing away all the top indie talent and giving them these ID contracts.
And I wouldn't be surprised if they were doing that to WCW as well before they bought out WCW.
It's a smart business move because, you're starving Tony from talent because he needs as much talent as he can get because he can't book the ones he has properly. Absolutely. So he needs more momentum. It's like, hey, let me bring in this indie darling. Here, he's on television next week, And
he's the shits.
And now it's like WWE is like, okay, you can be good. You could be good in 3 or 4 years. You can be good. You suck now, but you can be good in a few years with experience. Here's these ID contracts. We give you money while you work these indies and improve to our standard, and then we'll bring you into NXT and stuff. But
Right. And the sheer fact that and like he said, it makes it look like Tony Khan is a cheapskate. Well, we already know Chris Jericho's a cheapskate and a piece of shit. We already know that. And I wouldn't be surprised if Jericho just did it for the recognition.
Yeah, his wife did. His wife was there on January 6th. Jim pointed that out before Cornette. So it's like,
I always say, Jim, that has nothing to do with anything.
Like he's trying to smear
Not
Jericho.
mentioning it.
His wife was there on January 6th, and they tried to do insurrection. It's like, come on, it's not an insurrection, Jim. But
next time I think we should. Maybe next week, talk about we should preview Survivor Series, but then also talk about Jim Cornette's. I think they have it his election talk. And he was just calling people stupid and basically, I mean, we have to listen to it because it's very interesting.
Yeah, I haven't listened to it yet, but we'll talk about it next week. Well, yeah, we do have to pass 10 o'clock.
I mean,
we do have to
2 hours just seem to fly by with you, Angel.
Yeah, I know.
I look down, I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, it usually flies by, but I've been adjusting on my seat all night, trying to keep my
Oh
back.
yeah. Go put some ice packs on
Yeah,
that on the back.
so I'm fine. I
Or
did
a
this whole
heating
2
pad. Do you have a
hours.
heating pad?
Yeah, I mean, I have to
Yeah.
dig it out, but yeah, I mean, I have a lidocaine patch. I'm probably gonna put on too. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, we're probably gonna leave it here next week. Remember, we're gonna preview Survivor Series. Hopefully, if Dee's still there, you can make it next week, so we can do a
I would
proper
love to see
preview.
it, D, big bro.
So, yeah,
Also, I just want to let everyone know that unfortunately, Gmail has changed their guidelines, and they are not going to allow anything bigger than 25 megabytes now. If you attach something, it has to be less than 25 megabytes.
Yeah.
Or no, it has to be less than a gigabyte or something like that. It has to be. They're not allowing us to pass large file extensions between ourselves. So from now on, if you want, I have this listed on my YouTube. Just go to Angel's YouTube and you can watch us live and comment, of course. So I actually posted that on my YouTube that I will not be posting pro wrestling anymore, even though I kind of made like stuff for it, outros and stuff. But that's cool. But it's because like I tried to get an episode of Black Magic talk to somebody and I couldn't get it to them. So I understand like why I haven't been getting episodes is because Gmail has changed their stuff. So from now on, if you want to watch us, you can watch us live or you can watch us later on Angel's site. Unfortunately, I just won't be uploading them anymore because Gmail just won't let us pass the file size between each other.
Yeah.
So I wanted to make that official so all of our fans know that if you do go to my page and you're like, why isn't pro wrestling being uploaded on her site? Well, it's because they won't let us pass the file between each other. So so look for it. Like I said, on my community page, I have the link for Angel's YouTube. Go on there, subscribe, become a subscriber, and you can watch us. You can watch his Angel in the Afternoon live, and you can watch our Pro Wrestling Talk live at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And you can comment in the section if you don't like what we're talking about or you like what we're talking about. Like us and comment and share with your friends, all the friends that watch wrestling, and we'd love to hear from you. So so that's the little bit of news that's coming down. It's not good, but it is what it is.
Yeah. So next week is Survivor Series preview, that Jim Cornette thing, and we'll get to clips next week for sure. It's just that we kind of went long with the WWE stuff, and by the time I looked, it's like, we're not able to get the clips this week. So so remember, Angel in the Afternoon, Friday, 7:00 Eastern. I'm doing one next week. After that, it's the Friday after Thanksgiving. I probably won't do an episode then because people are with their families or on vacation or whatever. No one's gonna watch.
Yeah, I have 4 days off, and I'd like to have 4 days off.
So
I mean, not from the shows, but I mean from because I'm definitely going to do one Wednesday night, and then if Snow wants me to come on again, I definitely would do his show Thursday night. I don't know if he's going to do one. He probably won't.
On Thanksgiving, no, he probably wouldn't.
Yeah. And then Saturday is the pay-per-view, so we're not coming on till Sunday. But tomorrow, as I said, Angel and I are going to be recording that bonus episode, episode 65, which is the bonus episode, which will be coming out in like late December-ish. So look for that. It is going to be bonus content for my Rick Rude fans. Basically, we're going to do the super post down between the Ultimate Warrior and Rick Rude. So look for that coming out in late December. And then also I have episode 60, which was Mr. Angel and Mr. Cabello. Kit Cabello was on, and we did the Ultimate Ribs Collection 2. So get ready to laugh your head off. Tomorrow night at 9:00 for Rumble, and then on Monday I'm going to upload it for YouTube. So check that out. Be ready to laugh your butt off at some more ribs for Kurt Hennig, and of course I have the wonderful Angel Rivera, and of course Kit Cabello. Also on Black Magic Talk real fast, we are going to be doing another tarot reading, but this time not only are we going to do tarot readings for me and Matt, but we're also going to do it for our audience. So just a general reading for our audience. If it has anything to do with you, you can keep the like, share, and subscribe. you can all, if it doesn't have anything to do with you, you can thank you for watching at least. And yeah, we're going to start expanding to our audience so that we can kind of get tarot readings for, you know, our audience. If they want it off air or on air, you guys can decide that. Again, links are in the description field for my PayPal and for my Cash App. Also, like I said, I will not be uploading any more pro wrestling talks. You'll see them right here on the Angel Rivera show or channel, excuse me, and then the INN channel as well.
Yeah. So, yeah, Angel in the afternoons every Friday at 7, Pro Wrestling Talk. We'll be back here next Saturday to preview Survivor Series and do wrestling clips, hopefully. And the next Friday after that, I won't be here probably because I'm not going to do a show on Thanksgiving. Unless something breaks, then we'll see something major. But for now, I'm not planning on doing a show Friday after Thanksgiving. Like we just said, Pro Wrestling Talk will be on Sunday that week, December 1st, because pay-per-view is on the 30th, right after Thanksgiving, so we won't be on then. And yeah, I think that's all the announcements I have too. So we're gonna see you guys next week for Pro Wrestling Talk, and hope everybody has a nice rest of their weekends. And we'll see you next Saturday.